Okay, hopefully you can hear me. This currently is just a live stream. There's going to be a conference call made on Messenger in the green room around about 8:15 tonight. So in about 25 minutes. And if it, providing goes ahead and there's any players, I'm expecting Ken, Hopper, and possibly Ronnie to join. And whatever we discuss will be here on this this live stream, just so that it saves time. People can hear what we're saying and what people's thoughts are. And I'll bring up some visuals pretty soon. I'm just getting my setup ready. So if you can just bear with me. So I've just put a poll in the green room. So I'm just looking to see. Like I say, I'm expecting Ken because I put a question up in a post in the OSC group, and Ken responded to it, and Jamie, and I think Raf, but Raf wasn't really, because of his language barrier. I don't think Raf is able to really contribute that much. Some people responded to the poll. So I'm just going to put that up. Let me just do something first, and I'll put that up shortly. Right, so I can just put this up on the screen. So oh, wait a minute, it's this one. So basically, there are times when players will get to. There's a deadline for each match now. Depending on how long the format is, will kind of determine how long we should give players, how many days we should give players in order to complete the match. Now, obviously, because there's 13, 14, 15 different players, some of them may not be able to play exactly the same time as everyone else. Plus, some people may be working, going on holiday, etc., etc. So we try and minimize any problems by trying in different ways to get from players when can you play, what is a good time you can play. So this is why I'm putting all these polls up, try to set up a spreadsheet where you fill it in. This determines when you can play. And then I can basically schedule sessions so we know when that two particular players, if they're drawn against each other, that they'll be able to play at the same time. So we can get just an understanding. So the event can run smoothly and they can finish the match by the deadline. But there are occasions when a match is not finished by the deadline, or for example, a player will only sort of make himself known near the end, a few days. You know, the round will start on a Monday, for example, and we don't hear anything from a player till Thursday, and there's only 2 more days left. So this is quite annoying, and as well, it just kind of it's not the correct vibe, really. Obviously, players are waiting to play, and their opponent only turns up near the end. Uh, that's not great. It can be seen as trying to, uh, it's not playing in a gentlemanly way, really. So when players register and join an event, they should look at the rules. It tells you when it starts. So if they click to enter, then they know how long it's going to take for each round when it starts. So they should at least, when it starts, to give an idea of when they can play. So what I'm putting forward is that we just make it a little bit more official, little bit more formal, and that we have some kind of some kind of cut-off point. So the first 48 hours or 72 hours of a particular round one, both opponents need to confirm when they've agreed they're going to play the sessions. Are they going to play in one session, 2 sessions, 3 sessions, or whatever? And then we know we know that that's when it's been set for. So, if, for example, if a player doesn't turn up on one of those occasions, then we can actually implement a penalty. Then it's a fair way of implementing a penalty because you said you'd be there. So, if you're not going to be there, then that's down to you. Obviously, you can give advance warning, say, I'm actually not going to be at a mate tonight, and that would be fine. But as long as within the deadline, you can play all the sessions and all the frames, etc. Now, just give me a moment. I'm just going to have a look at. 9:30. Oh dear. Ronnie's put 9:30, and we. Okay, let's see. Okay. Well, we'll see if Ken turns up. So it's now 8 o'clock, and we'll see if Ken would be here. But this what you can see now is was kind of a suggestion that I was putting forward. And basically, well, it was actually, I'm trying to understand where we all what the problem is, because one of the options was to, if a player doesn't make a session, or if both players don't turn up, you know, say there's 3 days to go and you need to play it in 3 sessions, then we need to start kind of identifying when the match is going to be finished. It needs to be finished by the deadline. So if there's 3 days to go and you've not played the first session of 3 yet, then we need to decide, if they don't turn up for that first session, then we split the 7 frames. 7 frames is the average for a session. 7 frames of play, roughly 25 minutes per frame in time. And so that's roughly about 3 hours for a 7 frame match, just slightly over, but roughly around that time. Okay, so I'm just about to ring Ken or anyone who can take part. So I'll just invite those who might be around. I'm just waiting for anyone to join.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, good evening, David.
Good evening. Who's that?
Hello, Dave.
Hi.
I will go to London today. And come to Greece Sunday night.
Calling Athens.
I will go to London. Come to Greece Sunday night. Calling Athens.
Now, if someone's got someone needs to turn or put headphones on or something, because I'm getting a delay.
Now, if someone's got
Dave, I have a much voice here. I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you, David. It's very distorted, but I can hear you.
My voice is distorted, is it?
Yes, I can hear you.
But is it doable? Is it satisfactory, my voice? Is it distorted?
Dave, I'm sorry. I cannot hear you. I
Okay.
have very, very big voice.
Give me a moment.
Sorry.
Give me a moment. I can hear both of you, but one moment.
There's a time delay.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I'm as far as I can see, that's something to do with you too. The time delay, because I've got headphones on. Is anyone not using headphones?
Yes.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks. I cannot hear you. Thanks for the call. Maybe other time.
Can you hear me now?
To can hear you. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I must close because I going to airplane now. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so Ken, are you there? Ken?
Yes, I'm here, David.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you good and clear.
Oh, great. Okay. So it looks as though it's just me and you. So
no, I'm here. I'm listening.
Who's that?
Ronnie.
Oh, Ronnie. Hi, Ronnie. So it's me, you, and Ronnie. I'm doing it. Oh, Rafat's actually on video. Rafat, are you there? You can't hear me. So anyway, Rafat, if you can hear us, let us know. Yeah. So Ronnie, have you had a look at the question yet? What we're here to discuss what to do when two players cannot play their match by the deadline. Ronnie, are you there?
Sorry, Paul. On you go.
Two players
cannot
play their match by the deadline.
Ronnie,
Bill.
Ronnie, are you there?
Sorry, Paul. On you go.
Rafa and Ronnie, can you go off? Two.
Possibly, I don't know if the guys are on Skype, because conference Skype is very, very good, and you can have up to about 18 and 19 people without any distortion. Possibly, I don't know if the guys are on Skype, because conference Skype is very, very good, and you can have up to about 18 and 19 people without any distortion. Possibly, I don't know if the guys are on Skype, because conference Skype is very, very good, and you can have up to about 18 and 19 people without any. The first session, would it be better, instead of giving a frame, a time on
Go on.
would it be better if you didn't give like 5 frames, 3 frames, 2 frames, but give a time period, an allocated time period?
Yes, I have done that. Have you been able to go on the spreadsheet yet?
Like, No, I haven't, David. I can't get access. I've been denied, and I've asked for access, and unfortunately, there's no link coming through, or there's no response to. Actually giving me access.
Right, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can still hear you, yes.
Whatever you were just doing in the last 20 seconds, there was a big delay that started to happen. So don't know if
Yeah, I can still hear you, yes.
Okay. I've just posted the match hub in the green room. If you can open that up. I don't know if you ever have a chance to look at the match hub at all.
Yes, I've seen this matchup. Yes.
Right. So the first page is like a scoreboard for when the World Championship's going to start.
Yes.
But we'll talk about that another time, maybe, or later on. But if you go to the next one along, World Championship overview at the top. Can you see that?
No, I've only got one page. How are you?
No. At the top, there's a menu. You're on desktop, yeah?
Yeah, I'm on desktop. All I've got on the left-hand side is player one. Then I've got another section.
No, sorry. Right at the top, the menu. There's a menu at the top.
Yes.
So, WOCH overview.
Yes, David. Got.
Okay. Right. So.
Yes, I'm there now.
Now, when you say time periods, if you can see in pink at the top, so on the left.
Fantastic. Yes.
Yeah. So 7 o'clock start time. If you go down, so me, Chris, Mike, Mushtaq, and Wim have said they can play for 3 hours. So I class 3 hours as 7 frames. So hopefully in that sense, that's what you mean by time period. And then you've got the number above 7 o'clock is how many players. So it's 5. 8 players can play 8 o'clock. 12 players can play 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Again, it's delaying again. I don't know why it's delaying.
I don't know. I think it might be because it's international time differences.
Let's try this. Ken. Can you hear me now?
I don't know. I think it might be because it's international time.
If you can hear me, Ken, go to useful links on that page that you're on the match hub. Useful links.
Okay, just one moment. Okay, just one moment. Yep.
Right now, it says can you see something that says co-commentate on matches?
Yes.
Second one down. So to the left is a link. Press that. If you press that, you should come into that.
Yes.
Right. So
the website, you mean?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I've clicked that. Oh, that's directing you to Hangouts.
That's it. So what I'm suggesting is, because I'm getting a delay again from this conference call thing, I'm just saying, why don't you come straight into this YouTube chat? It might be much easier to talk. So the Ken D Hop gmail.com. If you sign in through that, you should.
I think it will be. That's a good idea. Yes. I can just go straight in it. I click it and I'm there straight away.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm in now. In fact, I'm in now.
Right, I can't see you.
Really? It says that I'm the first one here. You are the first one here.
No, that's not it. Let me send through Green Room. Let me send you a link.
Okay.
Try that.
Yeah, exactly the same one.
Are you? It's not asking you to sign in or anything.
No, I'm straight in. I'm here now. Can you see me?
I can't. Can you see me? Ah, yes, I can see you now.
Ah, yeah.
Ah, great. So I'm going to stop the conference call on Messenger. Yeah.
No,
Well,
I can't.
If you hover your mouse over the screen, there should be some instructions at the top. Settings. There's a settings button.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can choose your microphone. So if you choose whatever microphone you're going to use.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to stop the conference call, and then we'll chat through the YouTube, yeah, Hangout.
Okay. Okay, David.
Right. So.
Oh, okay, no problem. Yeah, I'll leave to this with that. I have no option.
You will leave here.
Yeah, I'll have to do it because I'm here now.
Or I can.
It's no problem.
I can put it later.
No. Oh, have you not cooked it yet?
Yeah, I cooked it.
No, I'll have it.
Hi, Ken. I can hear you, by the way.
Oh, good. Sorry, I was just talking to my wife.
No, it's whenever you're ready. But I'm glad now we seem to have like a settled kind of broadcast.
Yeah, it's still. Yes. So are the members going to join?
I don't think so. No, I think we're just going to have to work out how to do that group thing. It is live, so people may be watching this, so they can maybe type a message or whatever. But when I put that poll up about matches going to a deadline and stuff, as you were saying, some players are getting kind of, for whatever reason, they're taking it the wrong way, and they're kind of sort of expect that they're not. I'm just asking a question. Basically, the question was, why is it unfair if two players in one match play a one-off session, first to four or something, and two other players in the same round play the full 19 frames or play whatever first to 10? Is it unfair if that is used to determine who goes through to the next round, because the players who play a one-off match don't have time to play the full frames? Does that make sense? Are you there, Ken?
Yeah, I'm here, David, but it's I can hear you perfect now. Before it was just repeating and repeating and repeating. I couldn't make sense of your conversation. Now it's, yes, I'm here now, yes.
Okay. So what we're saying is it unfair for you and Jamie, for example, to play first to 10 in round 1, and for me and Rafa to play first to 4 in round 1? If that was the only, if me and Rafa could not find a time to play each other, so we said we can't play up to 10, we're going to have to play a one-off match, first to 4. So we'll play that for round 1, and everyone else plays first to 10. Is that unfair? We'll play that for round 1, and everyone else plays first to 10. Is that unfair? Right, Ken, have you got YouTube on? We'll play that for round 1.
Yes, I've got YouTube. I'm into Google Hangouts, but
Right, Ken, have you got YouTube on?
yes.
Turn the sound up on the YouTube screen.
I've got YouTube. I'm into Google Hangouts, but
Ken, have you got YouTube on?
yes.
Turn the sound up on the YouTube screen.
I've got YouTube. I'm into Google Hangouts, but
Ken, have you got YouTube on? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, David, but for some reason it just keeps repeating and repeating and repeating, and I can't make sense of anything that you're saying.
Because I think the sound's coming from the YouTube window you've got open, so you need to take the sound off that.
Right, just a minute. Okay, let me come out of it and come back in, yeah?
Okay.
Hi, David, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, that's much better. Much better.
Right.
Okay, sorry, David, if you can repeat the question. I couldn't.
Yeah. Okay, so is it unfair if a match between you and Jamie?
Is this in the first?
Yeah, so round 1, okay,
Yeah.
of any tournament. So let's say round 1.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you and Jamie can play most days. Say it lasts for 4 or 5 days to play the match.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Rafa are finding it hard to find the correct time, the right time, or one of us is at work for 4 days and we can only play one session basically.
Mm-hmm.
So you and Jamie played the natural first to 10 as set out.
Yes.
Me and Rafa, because we can't work out more than 1 day, we just decide to play one-off match first to 4.
Okay.
In round 1. Now is that unfair in any way to either you or whoever plays the winner of me and Rafa?
Mm-hmm.
Is that unfair in any way?
Yes, it can be said. It can be seen to be unfair in a situation where you get a top class player. I'll give you an example. I'm not exampling the people and saying that the people are going to do this, but I'm giving you an example, such as Mo, Nikos. You know, your top end players who are really on top of the game.
Yeah.
They could use it to the advantage and say, look, guys, sorry, I'm busy, we'll play best of 4, and they've got a massive advantage because the tournament is over 19 frames, not 4. So
Right.
if you're going to have a tournament over 19 frames, then the tournament should be over 19 frames. I understand the dilemma, and I understand with international guests coming in from all over the world playing in different time zones, international differences. I understand all that, and there's always going to be complication and where people can't meet, people can't arrange times. A 19 frame game is a maximum of 37 frames. Yeah, if it goes full length, it's 37 frames.
Mm-hmm.
The time period for this first round to be completed, then you need a minimum of 19 hours commitment to that first round. And that's why I suggested by not doing it by frames, but do it by hours, 2 or 3 hour sessions. I think because over 3 hours you can get 7, 8, 9, 10 frames in if somebody's unlucky or if somebody's playing exceptionally well, and the competition will move along swiftly. But getting back to your point, David, so I'm not losing track, is it is a disadvantage to play a one-off best of 4 when the tournament clearly is a 19 frame decider.
That's a very good point. It's a very good point. So with that in mind then, yes, because there is a possibility that, yes, so what you're saying is because a player is a higher seed, is a much better, historically is a better player, so therefore he can just play a quick match knowing that he'll win. So it's not playing a longer match would give the lower seeded player more of a chance. They may be able to kind of, over a long period, the higher seed may be at a disadvantage. But if they play in 3 sessions of first to 4, for example, if they do it over in sessions, does that really make a difference?
Yeah, let's just take the art of the sport. Let's examine the art of the sport. Professional snooker players turn up and they physically play their rounds and the frames, and it's all a tournament is designed of such factor because you have to have skill, you have to have determination, you have to have stamina, and this is what the competition brings out in people. So a 19 framed session is exactly that. You're testing your skills, you're testing your patiences, you're testing your strategies, you're testing your stamina. This is all part of the game. Now by doing a one-off 4-game 4-frame session, that's taking away everything what the tournament represents.
I completely understand that, and ideally, yes, it should be the same specifications, but so the first point you made was that a higher seed player is an advantage to him because he's more likely, he's 9 times out of 10 or maybe 7 times out of 10 more likely to win a best of 7 match, one-off match than not. That's what you were basically saying, were you?
That's correct, David. What happens is this: your mental agility. Just let's talk about a mental agility of any sportsman. In theory, this is sportsmen and members coming together, testing the agility, testing you're testing yourselves as human beings. Now, for an higher graded player to come in and play a one-off match, a best of 4, and he wins 1 or 2 or 3, that is going to have a serious impact on the lesser fortunate player because he's going to get demoralized. He hasn't got time to recover. And that player entered into this competition to play over 19 frames.
Right, but you do accept that the 19 frames are not all going to be played at once. You do
Sorry.
accept that.
Sorry, David, I missed that. We just got a bit of interference.
You accept that the 19-frame match is not going to be played all at once, don't you?
Of course.
And that it's going to be split into 2 or 3 sessions.
That is right. That is the commitment that these players have to show. It's 3-hour sessions, and that's it. Your first section's finished.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. It's 3 sessions of 3 hours. You know, you're not asking a lot from the players. They love the game. They're committed to the game. So show the commitment the game warrants.
Absolutely. Let's just clarify. The default position is that everyone should play the same. And that, you know, there should be no going away from that. The reason I'm bringing this up is there are times when, for example, there's a time at the moment, a situation in the China Open, Mushtaq had a problem with his computer.
I know.
And this tonight is the final night to play the China Open final.
Mm-hmm.
They played 3 frames yesterday, so they've got the remaining 18 frames to finish tonight. Now, what happens if they don't finish tonight?
This is unforeseen, and it's difficult because the guys have got to, you know, whoever's concerned in these matches, they have to deliberate amongst themselves and say, look, guys, we entered this competition. There's 18 frames to play. We're not blaming anybody for the mishaps or what's happened. But look, this is this time frame. We've got to make it happen. You've got to show commitment and do it. Otherwise, say, look, guys, I concede that the play goes through. You've got to be gentlemen.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's the decision we need to decide then. So what should we do? So they get to a point, they played, say, 10 frames tonight, and they have to go because it's Ramadan or whatever, or because it's getting too late.
Yeah, this is another important factor. You're bringing not only international time zones into play. Now you're bringing culture into play. You know, and I respect the world. I respect the culture. And Ramadan is a very, very difficult period for the people who are going through it. And it plays a big part in the life. In the China Open, because now you're at this situation, or the situation's arisen that tonight is the final day, there's so many frames to be played for a decider, it may be a suggestion to get the players to amicably agree prior to break off, look, guys, are we going to play best of 5, best of 6? Because going over 18 frames, that's 9 hours, and nobody can give a 9-hour commitment. You know, it's impossible.
Absolutely. And just to be clear, don't forget the reason why they've not been able to play, they've only been able to play 3 is that Mushtaq had a problem with his computer. Now, this is what he said, so we have to take players' word.
Of course,
that is what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So in that situation, if it's too many frames to play in one night, tonight is the deadline. What is the what would you suggest we do about that situation?
I would suggest that both the players mutually agree what is amicable for them both, best of 5, best of 6, but by under condition that there is a winner from each section tonight.
Right, that's exactly what I'm putting forward. That's what I'm saying. Is it unfair for a match to be decided in a one-off session rather than the full match?
I think that you've got to make some. You've got to oversee it now. In this instance, with the China Open, I'm talking about, because you're well into it. You know, it's final day, so you have to allow a one-off for the people to at least clarify who is going to. You know, we need the name. Who's going to go through? So it's up to them tonight. But in the new competition, that is a different. You have to set precedents.
Right. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I understand. So yeah. So we can precondition what needs to happen before the tournament starts.
Correct.
Before the round starts. Okay.
Yes.
So
but you need the China final to finish tonight, so you can do the draw.
correct.
So the people what are left in the China tournament, they must agree amongst themselves. Look, we've got 18 frames to play. It's far too long. Nobody can give 9 hours in one go. Have we to mutually agree to shorten it to a sensible first to 3, first to 4, and finish the match tonight at all costs.
Now, so yes, but this can happen as well in the world. So what I'm saying is,
but it shouldn't, because now what happens is, because the China tournament has got to this situation, now you've got to deal with it. But if amongst the members they can come up with a format going forward into the next tournament, you can make lenience for the China one now because you're at that deadline. But you need to set precedents going forward.
Exactly, and that's why I appreciate this chat, because that's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to discuss and just open up to everyone what their thoughts are. I do have certain ideas myself, but obviously, unless the players or the members look at them at face value and consider them, then we're not going to get anywhere, are we? So I appreciate this, Ken, and obviously you seem as though you're used to having meetings like this, or kind of discussing things or coming to solutions. So that's great.
It is part of my career, and snooker playing isn't one of them, unfortunately. But
sure, but a solution can be about anything, can't it? You find a solution. Obviously, you need to know a little bit about what you're talking about as well. So
yes.
So right. So the kind of ideas I've come up with so far are that we have, in no particular order, so it's, say, like the first round is 1st to 10.
Yes.
So that's 19 frames.
Yes.
We break that up into 3 sessions. So the first session, so basically what happens is, if they played the first 2 sessions.
Yeah, this also needs the competitors to understand. Just let me write it. I'm making some notes, David. So it's 1st to 10, yeah?
Yeah. So it's best of 19. You break that up into 3 sessions. Okay.
So that's a minimum of an 18-hour match. Okay. If it goes to full length.
Well, 1 frame is roughly about 25 minutes long on average.
Okay.
So that's about half that, isn't it?
Okay. No. Yeah. So you've got a maximum of 19 frames. So you've got 8.5 hours, correct?
Yeah.
So that's 3 sessions at 3 hours. Finished. Very easy.
Yes. Now, let's say they don't get to the 3rd session. It can be so each session has to be an odd frame of numbers. So I was suggesting 7 frames is the average. So 3 sessions. So you could have 2 sessions of 7 and 1 session of 5. So whoever wins the session gets 1 point. And then they play a second session. And say the same player wins that session as well. So it could be, say, 8 frames to 6 by the final session when there's 5 frames left. Now, if that session is not played by the end of the deadline, then the player who's won both sessions, so it's like put it into legs. So the player who's won the 2 sessions will win because he's won 2 sessions out of 3.
Automatically by aggregate, yes.
So that is one option that we could have. But obviously, you could say the player who's lost the first 2 sessions, the winner of the first 2 sessions might say, "Oh, I can't make it for the 3rd session," knowing that he would win anyway. Under those circumstances, you see, there's so many connotations that can happen, and you have to, in a sense, I know we probably don't need to, but you have to presume that everyone will try and cheat. So that's the flaw in that situation. You could have, say, for example, whichever comes first, the first player to win 2 sessions out of 3, or the first one to get to the target of 10 frames. So they could share a session each, and then they would have to decide on the 3rd session, or it could be the player who wins the first 2 sessions automatically will go through. So that's one session. Now you can. Do you want to have a comment about that, or shall I give you another idea?
You're always going to have problems to solve. The players should show responsibility, because if you play 2 sessions and the player doesn't turn up, the player who doesn't turn up for whatever reason is at default, and the player that does turn up, even if he's lost the first 2 sessions, then he's being penalised. You've got to reverse the fact that what happens if the player that's lagging and hasn't got the aggregate point turns up, and the player who won the 2 sessions doesn't turn up. The player who doesn't turn up then automatically goes through. That's wrong.
Yeah. So we do. So there is a flaw in that. So what you could do is, like, say, within 48 hours of the round starting, or you could say within the first day, or on the opening day, players have to agree when they're going to play and for how many frames, right?
Correct.
So then after that, if anyone doesn't turn up, then they are penalized in some way. So they would say the first session is best of 7, is 7 frames. So one player doesn't turn up, so that means the first session will be 4-3 to the waiting player, the player that turned up.
How long have they got to complete each session? 3 days.
Well, it depends on the.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I'll
tell you what. If you're using a 3-day window, yeah. Just this might be a good solution. If you're using a 3-day window to complete that particular match between those 2 players, and so that's 3 shows by both players have to show up at 3 individual times. Why not make it a 3-day window but played over 2 days? That's giving them a day for any errors and misdemeanors or can't turn up. They've got 3 days to complete 2 sessions to complete that 19 frames.
That's what roughly happens anyway. I allow 2 days free. So if it's 3, see my basis is a match. An average match of 3 hours will be 7 frames. That's what I work from. Mm-hmm. So if it's first of 4, which a lot of the matches are, it will be over 3 or 4 days. So they have 1 session. It's just 1 session they need to play. They need to play it within 3 or 4 days. If it's a long format, like, for example, the World Championship and the China Open, then obviously so however many sessions, I break the best of amount. So say 19, I break that into multiples of 7. So that's 3 sessions of 7, or two sessions of 7 and 1 of 5, but whatever. Yeah. So, and then I add an extra 2 days on, so that's 5 days they have. But in this sense, I've given them 7 days. So I've, for the World Championship.
Yeah. Then that is a reasonable window time, and nobody should default having that amount of window time to complete 19 frames.
Yeah, but what we need to remember, Ken, is we agree. Ideally, we this is about when force majeure happens, when things happen that we can't control. Someone is ill or whatever, etc. Are we absolutely dead strict about that? It doesn't matter if the person dies; they'll still get penalised.
Okay. The thing is running any competition in every tournament. There's rules, and rules of that competition has to be adhered by all. And it is unfortunate that people have mishaps and people get delayed, and something crops up. This is life. If Ronnie Sullivan's in the final, physically in the final, and he has a car crash and he can't turn up, then he's lost. That is life. That is life.
Yes.
That is life.
Yes, absolutely.
So this shouldn't be any different. Look, the guys are taking the game very, very serious. I can see guys practicing and they've got banter, they're playing each other, and there's some good upcoming players. There's a lot of improving players. That is showing me, and that's why I like to be a part of this. I'm not a part of it just to play snooker with somebody. I watch other players and how they perform and how they improve. Now, they're actually making a small career. It actually means something to people's life to have events like this to enter. So there should be rules and regulations, and anybody who breaks the rules and regulations forfeit that match.
Well, I'm not too sure about whether they think it's a career. I mean, I understand, yeah, some players, it's kind of a challenge, isn't it? It's a competitive match, and it's a season-long thing.
If I can rephrase that, is people look forward to it. It gives them a meaning in life, to be able to come and play snooker and play in a tournament such as this. It's important to them.
Well, it's important. It's important that people taking part treat it seriously in the sense that that they follow certain rules and they don't.
That is my point. That is my point, David.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of us having these tournaments is that it's a competitive match and we're challenging our snooker game, really, isn't it? Obviously, some players might think, oh, it's just a game of snooker and, I'd rather go to the cinema tonight or whatever, which is fine. And don't get me wrong, most, over time, we've managed to get a good way of doing a good way of. Most players do play gentlemanly. They try and finish the game within a certain period. So this really is just about ironing out creases. Really, this is just about.
I think. Again, I'm going to repeat what I said previously earlier, and the admins of this, they don't actually get credit for the amount of time, effort, and work that they put into organising things like this. And in real life physical snooker competitions, when you've got all your top players, I mean, Alex Higgins and all of them, they've all lost matches because they haven't turned up and they've been drunk or they've gone off with a woman or whatever. The rules of the game should apply.
Absolutely.
Irrespectively.
Yeah. But what I appreciate that, and if that's the case, then yes, I think all players would kind of agree with that. This is about if, say, for example, we've got a tournament coming up, 2 players are going on holiday or they are working or at some point or doing something where they can't play more than 1 session or only 2 sessions, or something happens after they've entered that is force majeure, something they can't control. So that's all I'm saying. If it gets to a point where the day of the deadline,
this also comes down to the integrity of that said individual. Now, as you noticed, I did not go in the China Open. And why didn't I go in it? Because I knew my schedule, my work plans and everything, and it would have been very difficult. I live in Spain, I've been in China, I've been in Hong Kong, I've been in Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, and I knew that I would cause disruption in that competition. So I didn't enter it. That is my integrity. Now, if somebody's going to go on holiday in that time period, then, surely they're not going to enter it. If something happens, something overseen, they have an accident or the electric's off or whatever, that's an act of God, you know. If they've been in hospital, get into green room, send a message to the opponent, apologise, this has happened, can we rearrange for this? So long as it's in the window, the time frame given to complete, then everything's aimable. But you need immediate response. You don't need somebody just going dead for 3 or 4 days and no communication. Now that creates another problem within itself. And that's only my point of view, David.
No, I understand, and I think that's where Jamie's coming from. I mean, the only thing with that is it could be where if we don't kind of I mean, yes, I suppose it would make my life a lot easier if I just put in strict rules. If you don't follow them, then you know that's what's going to happen.
Certainly.
And that's basically it.
It would, because if you give manoeuvrability, people tend to use that manoeuvrability. You know, one of the biggest marketing strategies in the world is not to give people too many options, because they'll always find some more to go in. That is life. That is life. And I think you have to have a strict set of guidelines, a strict rules before entering a competition. They should be adhered to. Okay, give a window, give a 2 day, 1 day, 2 day window maximum for any unseen event arising. But you've already allocated for something not going quite right because you've given 2 extra days. They can't have everything.
Sure, but like I say, we just need to clarify. Do we all agree that if it's not the player's fault, but yes, okay, I understand. Yes, we probably all would agree. Then that's the player's fault. That's tough love or tough luck for the player.
Yes,
but it does mean though that there could be 2 players. There could be not a player to go through to the next round because 2 players don't turn up, for example.
Then this is okay. So what you got to do to human nature, if that ever arises, that you've got 2 vacant spaces because the rules were broken, or they wasn't disciplined enough to turn up, or something unfortunate happened, then you have to revert back to the old system. You have to go back to the round previous, and the loser of that round goes forward. And by demanding that and by putting that in the rule book, people won't miss. They'll turn up, believe me. Because they know there's no escape. If they don't turn up, a guy who lost behind me is coming forward. So now they're encouraging themselves. They don't want that to happen. They want to go forward.
Now, I mean, you're making sense here, and I agree with most of what you're saying. Let's just put some context into it. I mean, how long have you got now? Do you want to finish soon, or have you got a few more minutes?
I'm fine, David. Thank you. I'm fine.
So this is not a snooker. This is something that we've put together. A few players coming on, enjoying that game. This is kind of tournament. So when you go onto the snooker app, you're not playing someone that's going to drop out of the frame when you start getting a 40 break, and then they'll just fuck off.
This is a different level. Yes,
this is for people who've agreed to play tournaments and go over the season. There's no prize money or anything like that. So it is kind of just players getting together to enjoy a competitive match.
Correct.
Now, this has been going for 4 years, and we've roughly got about 14 regular players over 4 years. Probably about the majority of 60 players have joined and then left. So, I mean, whether that is because it's very difficult to obviously people are people, aren't they? You can't really, unless people kind of look at take part in the games and get used to it, get to understand what it's about, and then they can see that it's a genuine thing and it's not about cheating and stuff like that.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, is our priority the players, the members, to take into account their situation? If they can't, you obviously give them a bit of extra time, allow them. I mean, I set this up as being exactly the same as the real world snooker season. So we play it in sequence with the real snooker season in terms of format and stuff. There are certain things we can't do, but should we actually adjust them? Maybe adjust that to allow for, say, don't have long format games.
You have to play the game. The game is snooker. The game has to have rules and it has to be adhered by. You don't think of the players, you think of the game. The game is the common denominator. The game, within the game, you have laws, bylaws. Sorry, no, you have regulations, you have rules. Those rules, we've already said, now we're going to a different level of snooker. We're not just going in at and playing any Tom, Dick and Harry. So those rules should be adhered to. You should give a window period for the match to be completed and 1 extra day for any inconvenience. If that extra day is not used, then the person that defaults forfeits. You've got to, if you find that you implement stricter rules, people will stand by them. While ever there's choice or loose talk, people know they can just wish-wash around them. It's human nature.
Right. Okay. Yes. So you're saying the game is the common denominator, not the players.
Correct.
But
the players are only the participants in that model. The model is the game.
Yes, of course, and that's the
players,
model. But should the model be based around what players can actually play, rather than asking them to play
because
19-frame matches when they've got work and stuff like that? So, is it?
Because you can overcome that. So, say you give a 3-day window for 19 frames, yeah. So just put 1 extra day on back of that. Give a 4-day window. Don't allocate any frames in the 4th day. That is for an emergency, in case anybody has any mishaps. You've already allocated for the participants. The model is the game. These are the rules. You've got to complete in 3 days, but courtesy of the admin, we'll give you 1 extra day for any unforeseen circumstances that arise. That is fair.
Yeah, but this is how I try to do it. But what I'm saying is, in an ideal world, that would be great if people followed it. But in an ideal world, people don't. We have players that don't communicate or come online for 8 days, or that they kind of like something comes up, they have to go on holiday, or their computer's broke, or whatever. These things happen, and obviously the reason I'm asking these and putting it to everyone else is because I'm the one who has to work it out and kind of try and work out what to do after that.
I think
that's why I'm.
Yes, I think if you have easy regulations, easy rules, people are going to take advantage of that. I think the only way to run it is to set a strict guidance. You've got 3 days to complete. You've got 1 extra day for any inconvenience, but you can't plan anything for that last day. That is purely for any unforeseen circumstances in case the match runs over. Once your time period is up, it's up. And you'll be surprised how many players say, oh my God, I've got to go online tonight, I've got to play. Because you have now told them that there's no extra.
Well, to be fair, by experience, players have done that. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Out of 4 years, we've only got 13, 14 regular players. And there's 60 that have come through, that have come on and eventually left. Now, obviously, there's different reasons why they do that. It could be that they're just not. It's just not for them, which is fine. But there are a lot of players that have not been able to keep up with a regular season. We're asking a lot of players to play, 3 or 4 days a week for most of the year. You know
Yeah,
what I
but,
mean? It's kind
you
of
know,
like,
you say you've got 14 players, so that is only 7 games. It's only 7 matches. It's not.
no. What my point is that we don't have 32 players.
Yes.
Why do we not have 32 players? Why have 32 players not stayed in and continue? Is it because they can't deal with the amount of games that they're being asked to play?
It's not suitable. It's not suitable to them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Should we refine it so maybe it's just every Monday or whatever? It's a league instead of tournaments, or you know what I mean? Spread it out a bit. Should it be more user friendly?
The only way to do that is to give a longer window. Give 7 days between between completion of each session. You could extend your window time. That would alleviate some problems instead of giving a 3-day period. But there again, by helping and assist and giving them more freedom over 7 days, then you've got on the back of that. Then you've got a player thinking, "Oh, I've got 7 days. Oh, I'm only going to play 1 match tonight." That is not fair to his opponent. Because so we're coming back to who is the principal dominator, the participants or the game, and it's the game. So the game dominates. The game says this is what you have to do if you want to go in this competition.
Sure, but I mean, obviously we're developing the competition, aren't we?
Yes.
So we have to be aware of who can actually take part in the format.
19 frame tournaments, you've got to have dedication. You have got to have dedication. If you haven't got dedication, then a 19 frame tournament is not applicable to that particular person. But all your tournaments you run, they're not all 19 frames. There's other tournaments that can enter. It's not as if you're pushing anybody out.
Well, it's a mixture of both of points you've made and points that I've made. It's like you're saying the game comes first. Okay, what is the game we're going to play then? Are we going to, first of all, say for example we started from scratch. Next season, should we follow the real snooker season and do it in that sense, or should we have less tournaments, spread them out a bit? Or should we only have sessions or matches where it has to be finished on the night? As an example, that's what I'm saying. If that's the game is the thing, do we work out the best way to allow players to play it, or do we just set out the real snooker season and just hope that whoever can play it can play it?
We've had plenty of one-night events and people's played all night. Me in particularly, I've took part in these one-night events and I've been up 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. It's no different to a competition. If I can do that just in a normal one-night event, I can certainly give that determination to a tournament. The game is the common denominator.
It is, but like you said, you weren't able to play in the China Open, were you?
No, I wasn't able to play in it. I couldn't give commitment, and it wouldn't be fair to my opponents or anybody else. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to enter. I don't want to cause any inconvenience for other players. But there was players that entered it, David. That's my point. Just because I couldn't enter it, your competition still went forward, and players entered who could do it.
Yes, so we did play it. But what was the reason you couldn't play? Was it the later long format matches, or?
I think it's the time differences. I'm in Spain and Mo's in Israel and Rafat's in Dubai, and we're talking big international time zone differences. We're talking 5 and 6 hours. So when you guys say, "Oh, I want to play at 10 o'clock at night," that's 4 o'clock in the morning. That is the problem.
Yes, but why could you not play the China Open without giving any details? What roughly was the reason? Was it because the longer formats, or you just weren't available?
No. It wasn't the format. The format was brilliant. The reason I couldn't play is because I couldn't commit that time at that particular on that event because I was travelling with my work.
So you just weren't. You didn't have access to actually play the game.
Correct.
Throughout the week.
Correct.
Right. Okay. I mean, yeah. Like for example, like that is But I mean, no. What I'm thinking of is like my original question to this was: is it fair or unfair, or is it unfair? For example, say you could only play a certain day, that you could still enter that competition, but play a one-off match. So whoever you're playing, if they agree to that, then the challenge is between you and that player to get through to the next round. You can decide
That's correct.
what the format is in order for you to get through to the next round. Is it unfair that two players have got through by playing a different format in the same round? And I know you've answered that question. I was just reminding anyone who's watching, this is the reason I was just asking it. And if the answer to that question is, well, it's not unfair, it's not really, there is kind of evidence to say that it doesn't really matter what the different. I mean, because you said it was about endurance,
of course,
but they play in different sessions, don't they? So the fact that a high-seeded player would have an advantage, they would have an advantage anyway. There'll be no real difference.
No. They would have a big psychological advantage. Let's go back to the model, the game. A 19-frame tournament is a 19-frame tournament. If they want to play best of four, that's a best of four tournament. It's a separate tournament.
Yes.
It's a 19-frame tournament you're entering, not a
Well,
four-frame
it's going to be
tournament.
a 35-frame tournament,
yes.
Whoever gets to the final.
Yes, 35-frame tournament. So it is difficult. It's very difficult to find a solution. Whatever we suggest or whatever we talk about, there's going to be members out there who's probably listening and thinking we're talking a load of tishwash because, everybody's got an opinion. And without people participating in this call, as they've all been invited to do, you're not going to hear other people's points of view. But my comment is the game is the common denominator. You shouldn't adjust anything for participants. You set the rules. That's the rules guy. We'll give you one extra day in case anything happens, and that is it. Otherwise, this is going to be ongoing. If you're going to be running for the next 20 years, you're going to still be talking about the same things. Because because there's no policing. There's no, this is the rules, this is how it's done.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the case the last few years anyway. I mean, there are polls that I put out, I get feedback, but I mean, the purpose is just constructive ideas. Is there anything we can do to overcome this?
If somebody can play a full frame match, good luck to them. If two players, for whatever reason, can't, and they amiably say, okay, guys, look, we've got to get a winner. What are we going to do? Let's play best first to three or first to four. That's up to them. It's up to them. The main thing is that the competition goes forward on time. But you should have strict rule. You should definitely implement something. Once you get to sort of quarterfinals, semi-finals, and finals, that. But then again, how can you put rules at the beginning of the game and not have them at the end of the game?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Say like you got through to the final yourself by playing all the frames that were required.
Yes.
And the opponent that you came up to in the final could only play one session because of his time constraints, working or whatever. So he got round one, quarterfinal, semi-final by winning a first to fourth session.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and he comes up and plays you in the final. would you feel that he don't deserve to be there, or there would be any kind of are the two players in the final the correct two players to have got into the final?
Me personally, it wouldn't make a difference to me.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't make a difference because whatever he's agreed with his opponents to get where he is, it's all about that particular time when you meet him in final. It's not about what happened earlier in the match or whatever. The tournament has actually achieved its process. It's eliminated 12 or 13 people, and there's 2 people playing it out to be the final.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is then, so if
that makes sense.
Yeah, if at the end of the day it doesn't really make a difference to you, that's all I'm trying to ask. Some people are shouting out that it's not fair or it's not right, which I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just trying to understand, why do they feel that? Is it like a sentimental?
Yeah,
it should be everyone should play the same, or practically, if it's a practical solution to allow more players to play in an event, and whoever the 2 opponents are, they can decide the format that they need to decide who goes through to the next round. Is that a more practical solution to allow the club to move forward and get more members, and or should it be very strict and just have limited amount of members?
Excuse me. There's two sides to everything, and I can understand the people what say that's not fair, because I'm only repeating myself now. Let me give you a prime example. When Mushtag, no, not Mushtag, when what do you call him?
Mohammed?
No, not Mohammed. The other gentleman.
Rafat?
From Greece.
Papadakis?
That's the one, Papadakis. When I think it was Papadakis and Jamie in a final I watched. It was a cracking match, and Jamie actually made a comment. I'm glad it's over this period of frames because I've got a better chance against you. That was a true statement. Now, if Papadakis said, "Oh, Jamie, sorry, buddy, tonight I can't do it. We're going to have to play best of 4," that would have upset Jamie, and it would have upset me, because I'd conditioned myself to playing that particular frames that were expected from me. So you're gonna. It's going to pass for some people, and it's going to go against the grain for other people.
Right, I completely understand that, and
the only way to strictly police any tournament is either don't have 19 frame tournaments, or if you're going to enter 19 frame tournaments, these are the rules. You've got 1 full day for any inconvenience. That's it. That is it. And look, let's take it now to the real game of snooker. If any snooker player, whether it be Trump or whoever, didn't turn up or decided they were going to go on holiday, he forfeited that match. The world wouldn't have a vote. It's forfeited the match, and the man that turned up won it.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And don't forget, obviously, as admin, and yes, you maybe I'm willing to accept claims that I'm just being oversensitive or whatever, but it is kind of my responsibility to make sure the model is good for as many players as possible.
I agree.
I have to take everyone's kind of situation into account.
I agree.
So yes, I could say, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that, and that means we only have, say, 7 players in a tournament. If there's no kind of flexibility in a certain sense,
then you wouldn't have real snooker live tournaments if the players didn't dedicate the time to play them. It's the same, David.
What do you mean? Why won't we have?
you know, a tournament is a tournament. A tournament has rules and regulations, and each player has got to abide them. In real life, real snooker life, this is okay. This is an imitation of that, and it's how excuse me, it's how serious you want to police it. You know,
Yes, yes.
it's down to individual, and I know your job is so difficult trying to please everybody, and you've got different opinions coming in, and you've got opinions coming in that don't actually relate to the topic that you're discussing. You know, yourselves in a difficult position. It's not the participants. We're not in a difficult position. It's the admin. You know, and you know the participants should appreciate the time, effort that the admins put in, and just show a little bit more dedication. You're not asking for much. Look, guys, we've got something really good here. Everybody enjoys it. We pass many an hour on. It becomes an household habit. You know, and every model deserves an element of dedication. You know, and you're not going to please everybody. It's impossible. You know, and you're always going to have somebody that's Wi-Fi is down, or electricity is off, or the wife's got, God forbid, something's happened to some of the children. That's it. That is going to happen because that is real life. That's what happens in life.
Yes. But in the sense that I agree with you there. I agree with you there. Life, you know, it could be that if we're going to say that, yes, players are allowed to play one session, that's just tough for those players who want to play the full amount of games. Yes. You know, it can work both ways.
That's right. It's two sides, yes.
Yeah.
It's down to the two people. It's down to the two players that are concerned in that occasion. Everybody outside that, it's down to that particular match of those two players. Now, you've got another thing, that if you've got one player wanting to play the full match, and you've got one player who can only play 4, and he shows up on the last day, and it's impossible to complete. So now you're creating problems because you've made bylaws that they can do this. Now everything's gone to the last day. The man who wanted to play the full game is now in a position where he's got to finish his match, and it's impossible to finish that match.
But in a way, that's a good thing, because then it allows us to deal with that, and that's what's. And I think you mentioned it earlier as well, and it's something I've come up with. Is on the first day of the round, you have to state when you're going to play the match.
Yes.
You have to state how many sessions it's going to be, and how many frames in each session. The default position is it'll be a 7-frame session. So you have to, you know.
Yeah, you're right. And by doing your polls, you have an indication of which players can turn up on which days. Obviously, the draw's not been done yet, and you've got to look at the draw and then adjudicate from there. But once you've done the draw, maybe instead of so there's 2 players can turn up Monday, and everybody can turn up Tuesday, and nobody can turn up this. And if you look at the window times that people can turn up, maybe it'll help the situation if you move the start date forward a little bit, so all the first games are played. Everybody's playing the first game, so everybody's in a commitment.
Yes, yeah. I mean, yes, exactly. I mean, it can be, you could give 10-day window for the round 1 frames, and you play it whenever you want. Just make sure it's finished under these specifications by the end of those 10 days.
Correct.
Then when it gets to the quarters or the semis, you maybe could have that with the quarters, but especially for the semis and the final, you could have the semi-final is going to be on this day at this time.
Yep.
And the final is going to be on this day and this time. So they have to make sure that they can make it on those days. So, correct. You know, there could be a little loosening there, but obviously for any force majeure, but you know, they know when the semi-final and finals are, because that's when it gets a problem. If the semi-final can't be played,
there's no final.
Yeah. There's no final, and there's a waste of time playing the round 1.
Correct. Correct.
So yeah, but what I'm saying, so in a sense, it's kind of like once you once problems come up, then you can solve them. That's all. That you know, I don't know what business you're in, but I'm sure that when you get a problem, once you solve it, then if a problem comes up, then you can solve it. But if you don't know there's a problem or whatever, then it can be a lot worse later on, kind of thing.
That's right. I mean, problems have a tendency of ricocheting. You know, if an unexpected problem comes up, it can cause havoc because you're not prepared for it. This is the whole point of you doing the polls, to identify this, to identify the situation of each player. And from the polls, I would consider, I mean, I haven't seen the draw and who can make it on certain days and who can't. But for certain, the day that everybody can make it, that should be the start of the competition. That must be the first round. That means everybody's committed. And from that point on, then you give the window. This match has to be completed by this day, and they've got time to, if they do have problems, they've got time to adjudicate. If you give a 7-day window instead of a 3-day window, now you're being lenient, and you're giving leniency to the players. Again, it can be misconstrued, because then we're getting back to somebody coming in and wanting to play one frame tonight, one frame tomorrow. That's no good to nobody. You know, it must be a minimum commitment to 2 hours per session, and because, you know, if somebody's going to come in and say, I'll play one game, and then they win that game, the other player is at a psychological disadvantage. Oh my God, one game, I didn't even have time to get warmed up. So you're always going to have problems, Dave. And you know, I wish there were more people here that could speak with us, because you know, that they could possibly identify an area where we're overlooking or not talking about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, part of it as well, Ken, which maybe I should put in the mix, is what I've tried to do, and what would be great if it can be more self-sufficient, so it can kind of work smoothly without too much interference from administration. You know, so, you know, if people respond to these polls, then that gives us the information that we need to see. A player can see, well, he can play in this time. Or like I say, if I say it's got to be done by the end of Friday, then as long as it's done by Friday, then that's fine. So you know, self-sufficient. So it doesn't need too much of me kind of chasing players around, coming up with all these spreadsheets and polls and stuff like that. But I do accept, as admin, I'm going to have to do a certain amount of that.
Yes. By implementing that 7-day window, and look, guys, you've got to complete it no matter what in that 7 days. Again, you're going back to one frame sessions. I can play one frame tonight. I can play 2 frames tomorrow afternoon. You know, that's mishmashy. That's messy. That's no good for any player. It's difficult, because as you solve one half of problem, another half of problem comes in where it can be counteracted. And this is why, you know, when we have events, and when we have media meetings and conference meetings, and when we're running businesses, we have a strategy, and we have we have to police it strictly for everybody to, and I know I'm not talking about a company here, I'm talking about an event that people participate in, which is a lot different. But, you know, at the end of the day, the game is the model. The participants are something that just makes that model work. And so, in a way, you've got to consider both elements. And while ever you've got human integration in any model, it's difficult, because human nature is very, very, very different to, you know, a machine. And things do happen. You know, inconveniences do happen, and setbacks. And what more can I say? You know, it's difficult. It is difficult.
Yeah. I mean, Jamie says, for example, why don't we have 100 players? I think he's being sarcastic there. It doesn't matter. We have 14 that play, but make them play. We aren't forcing anyone to sign up for competitions. I think that's where you and Jamie are coming from, the fact that people are not being forced to play this. You know, they know when the tournament is, and we stick to everyone plays the same specifications.
I think actually, David, and I am quite senior. In my years, I'm 60 years of age. I'm chief officer of a worldwide foundation. We go on all sorts of strange missions, financial missions, dangerous missions around the world, doing humanitarian and projects. And in my lifetime, human nature. It's hard to comprehend. There's different opinions, there's different thoughts. People have different moods. People are different. But at the end of the day, people are people, and a game is a game. No matter what model you've got, it has to be policed. The people, nobody's holding a gun at your head and saying you've got to enter this 19-frame tournament. If they can't enter this one, there's going to be a six-frame tournament. The smaller tournaments you can enter, and I think by policing it a little bit more strictly, that you will actually get the commitment that's given by the players, because they know this is the rules. We have to commit. You can't say to your boss, "Oh, I know I should have started at 8 o'clock, but tomorrow I'm going to come in at 10 o'clock." No.
Well, yeah, but would you say that, obviously you're relatively new, but I mean, would you not say it is pretty strict?
No.
Right. Okay.
No, I think it's very, very lenient, and there's lots and lots of loopholes. And I appreciate that it's done for the benefit of the participants. It's an enjoyable model where people can go in and enter a competition, and that's fine. If you're not going to take it serious, that is fine. But you have got guidelines, but you haven't got regulations. Look, guys, this tournament, this is the regulations, this is the rule. You've got this window to play first round. You've got this window to play. Please make sure, fill in your polls, make sure you turn up, or I'm sorry, you forfeit your games. Now, when somebody's got that in the red, I've only got 2 days. It encourages them. It encourages them to contact the opponent, to communicate. And if they can't make it, they'll communicate quickly because they know they're going to be out. So you might get a better response by policing it more strictly.
So where's it less lenient then, would you say? Because the only reason I say that is because I kind of feel sometimes that I am too strict with it, and like Ronnie's not been able to play certain tournaments. I've not allowed him because he's not clear about when he can play, etc. I mean, the only place where I would say probably people might feel it's lenient is if I do give an extra day, like we give an extra day to play a game where someone couldn't finish it on the deadline, for example.
And that is down to you and the players concerned. It's again, human nature is overrunning the window. That is the question. What do you do if they don't make it in that window? And we're going to go round and round in circles.
But it's not just that. It's not just the fact that there's consequences that happen by what rules you put down, or by what rules you don't put down. So it might have a consequence to someone else. It might affect another player. He might think that's not fair that you've done that. Or
that's right.
But surely the aim is to make sure the tournament finishes properly, rather than taking people out, fining people, and just trying to make it as a tournament that finishes properly, where you actually get players who went through the process and we got a winner out of it, rather than taking people out or fining them and stuff like that.
But that has already been tested and proven. You just mentioned Ronnie. That Ronnie hasn't played so much this year because of his time commitment. He hasn't been able to give, and Ronnie accepts that. I didn't enter the China one because I couldn't commit. I accept that. It made no difference to all the other players that I didn't play or Ronnie hasn't been playing. Your competitions have still run. So, you know.
No, but it was unfortunate that you couldn't play, for example.
It is
but yes, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
It is unfortunate that I didn't play, but it didn't make a slight bit of difference to the tournament. It didn't make a slight bit of difference to the players. You still run the tournament. You still got a winner, you know. And I always come online and congratulate them. I watch them as much as I can. I support them. You know, you can ask all the guys. I'm always popping in and out of rooms watching the competitions. You know, sometimes I can watch, but I can't participate. I'm working at the same time. But, you know, a competition is a competition. You know, it's no good me taking a job tomorrow if I can't go for a week, you know. It's difficult to what point of leniency you have to deploy. I think the more leniency you give, the more humans will take advantage of. This is human nature. I think if you set guidelines and then you say you've got 24 hours after this to complete, everybody knows where they stand. Everybody does.
Sure. You know, I think you know that's been made clear, and I think that has. I have tried to do that, and that has been generally the case. I mean, this maybe slightly came up because I think a tournament or so ago, it got to a point where there was 5 days to play a match, and the final 3 days. So you get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Say Thursday was the deadline for session 1.
I know the tournament you're talking about, yeah.
Friday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, and then Friday was the deadline.
And the player went AWOL.
And then, yeah, I mean, that in terms of when they didn't turn up for session 1, I shared the frames that would have been played in that session.
Yes.
So I made it 3-3.
Yeah.
And some players didn't like that.
Well, you know, you are the adjudicator. You have the right to do that. And by doing that and showing your discipline in the games, then that will encourage people to, I'm not letting him do that again. I'm going to turn up. Or communicate. It's one or other. But if they don't turn up and don't communicate, then there's got to be a referee, and this is where you come in, you know, and however you decide that absence of those two players has got to be respected. Whatever you think suits, then, you know, that has to be respected. You're not at fault. You've got to apply something, or the tournament would stop.
So okay, then let's. I appreciate obviously what you've said, and so give me. What would you say? Like, so basically, what you're saying is, continue as we've been doing. In terms of real snooker, though, they play a match, like in the World Championship, for example, that's played over 2 days.
Yes.
So surely you would agree that we couldn't do that, could we?
Yes, I agree. You can't do that, and the reason why you can't implement that time frame is the international time difference. You've got so many different time zones. You've got people from Israel, you've got people from Dubai, you've got I'm in Spain, you guys are in England, you know, and that would be like, oh my God, you'd lose all your players. It wouldn't be possible. And I understand why you're giving longer time frames to adjudicate for that actual time zone and time differences. But, you know,
I mean, did you know that we used to only play? We had 2 we had OSC 7, which was played at 7 o'clock, and OSC 10, which was played at 10 o'clock. We had two basically groups to try and deal with the fact that players play at different times. So we have tried lots of different things to try and find the kind of perfect way, or the way that fits most players.
Yeah.
And then we just came back to 24/7 just because it just seemed a bit stupid doing two different groups. I think part of it is, as well, is, like I say, being an admin for this, it does take a lot of your time, and there's a lot of things you have to go through.
It's consuming. It consumes your
Yeah.
life, David. It really does. You know, I mean, you've got a life. You've probably got a family. You've got work commitments. You know, and this is something extra. So you know, the guy showing a little bit more respect and dedication, and you know, it makes your job a little bit easier. You know. It's always, your position's always going to be difficult because, you know, you're the referee. At the end of the day, you are the referee, and you've got to find problems. You've got to find solutions to the problems that arise.
I mean, I don't know if James. Yeah, I appreciate that, and it's good that, I know, I'm sure players do understand that, and you know, it's a hobby for me, really. I mean, but obviously, I can't spend all my time doing it, and it would be great if there was a way of trying to interact more with players about how to know about it. But
yeah, this is the other thing as well. Well, you know, is it's nobody's job to be a snooker player. If it was his jobs, we would be professional. So what I'm trying to identify is a professional snooker player. That is his life. That is his job. So he's going to turn up to tournaments, and he's going to practice, and he's going to do whatever he has to do to gain his rankings. This is slightly different because it's more of an entertainment model. So, you know, I respect how far can you police it, how strict can you be, but at the same time, you know, there's got to be consideration from everybody involved, you know, because everybody's a part and parcel of it. You know, without the model, you haven't got participants. Without the participants, you haven't got a model. So, you know, everybody's equally responsible for amiably making it work.
yeah, and Jamie, who had an issue with the frame sharing of frames and stuff.
Yep.
And I completely understand his point of view. But for example, his hours have changed now, so he can only play after 10 o'clock.
Yep.
The original time when we played was between 7 and 10. So technically, he possibly, if we don't have any flexibility, it could have been that he wouldn't have been able to play anymore. So
that's right.
This is the thing, you have to kind of consider your consistent members.
That's right, because
also those who can only play now and again, they're still important.
That's right, because you know, I mean, if I play an English guy on English time zone, and he turns up at 10 o'clock at night, okay, you know, I'm only a few hours in front of him. I can tolerate that. In that particular session. Now, whoever progresses, it might be an Englishman playing an Israel man. Now you've got 6 hours. If he's going to turn up at 10 o'clock at night, it's going to be 4 o'clock in the morning for that other poor guy.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, though, if players from different time zones have come in, it's been made clear to them when we play.
Yes.
So, but obviously, yes. I think the kind of the bookmarks are a bit too wide, maybe.
But,
you know, 5 o'clock till midnight. I think maybe it should be over. Say, well, between 9 o'clock and midnight is the only time we play tournaments. In a sense, but that might mean some players might have to drop out. You see, so that's the issue, really. And players change times when they can play and not.
I mean, you've got Mo in Israel, you've got Rafat in Dubai, you've got Papadopoulos in Greece. Now these guys are on 4 and 5 hours, 6 hours. time difference.
Mm.
You know, not as much to me, but as they are to you guys in England. And you know, these guys turn up. These guys they show commitment and they turn up. So you know, you can't have one RP sector showing commitment and other RP sector not. So this is why you should have a clear indicator, a clear set of rules, and that's the rules, guys. Abide by them. Because
but if they do collide, a bit of understanding and maybe a bit of kind of let's use our brains. Let's
I think
make red lines that we have to play the full format of frames in order for it to be worthy. Let's do a bit of practicality and allow one session to be played as a last resort if needed.
I think you should set very strict guidelines, and in case of a referee, then your decision, whatever you choose, whether to default the player and forfeit his matches or give him additional time, that is your decision, and people have to respect that. You know, otherwise you're not going to have any compassion in the game. It's going to be, you know, you can't lose compassion. You've got to maintain that compassion, because immediately you overforce the regulations, like you say, then you've got a fear of the members decreasing. And that's something that we don't want. We want it increasing, not decreasing.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically at the end of the day, you can't win one way or the other. Whichever way you turn, you know, some players are going to be disappointed, and if you go the other way, other players are going to be disappointed.
That's right. You know, it's very, very difficult because it's not official. It's not a daytime job. So you know, you can't police it and enforce those regulations as a strict denominator, because you're always going to get human influence and human, you know, unforeseen circumstances. I mean, life is life. Anything can happen of any day of any week, you know, in somebody's life. And my opinion is you give a deadline window. These guys have got to abide by these rules, and in the case of that particular event not being completed, then it comes back to referee, and the referee judgment is final. Whether he defaults to player, you know, put it to a vote. If that ever happens, and put another poll up, get all the other players' opinions, and whatever the verdict is, everybody has to respect that.
I don't know whether referendums are useful on certain things. They are. If it's like an issue that's happened maybe, and it's hard to, you know, see who's to lean on maybe, but in general, like I say, I only put this one up today just to get some feedback on a constructive basis, and some people are threatening to leave. So, you know, it's very difficult to try and have a conversation with players to try and. I don't necessarily want to put rules down. I'm just offering suggestions.
Yeah.
And then from that, I can maybe understand a bit more, and then we can all just put it in too. But like I say, 13 players or 13, 14 players out of 4 years, you know, I would, if we had like 100 and, you know, if we had 64 players, then I would be more likely to put strict rules in to make sure that everyone follow, you know, it's fair for everyone. The fact that we've only got 13 or 14 players means have a little bit of flexibility, and it shouldn't be a problem if we allow whoever's playing each other, the two opponents, let them decide what the format should be for their particular match. And if they disagree, because I put this in my question, if I could just read it out. If an opponent, is it unfair if match 1 between player A and B is decided by best of 7 one-off session, when another match 2 between players C and D is decided best of 19? Yes, players A and B play fewer frames, but is it unfair to players C or D if they then play the winner of that match in the next round? If players A and B can't arrange to play the full 19 frames due to time constraints, is not allowing them to play a one-off session a fair way to determine who is better at that moment, given they both know what they have to do in order to go through? Isn't it about who wins the match, regardless of how many frames, so long as both players agree? And then, but to your point regarding the endurance part, I understand that. So that's why I put this. If an opponent wants to play the full amount of frames, so say you were playing someone who only wanted to play one session,
And that is when you're going to get your problems.
yeah, then if they are allowed to share missed frames in their favor, so for example, you're playing, say, Rafa, he says, I can only play one session. I can't play the full 3 sessions. So that means that you would share the first 7 frames in your favor. So it'd be 4-3 for you in the first session, and then another 4-3 for you in the second session. So that means it would be 8-6, and then you play the final session. So you would get an advantage in that scenario.
You can't be no fairer than that, David. That is perfect.
But that's what causes problems.
The only problem is if they don't make session 1, if they don't make session 2, and they can only do the final day. That is when the immediate problems come in. How are you going to solve that? And not only that, they've missed session 1, they've missed session 2, they've come in on final day. They only want to play 2 frames, but the player wants to play 19 frames. How are you going to resolve that? That is where it really matters.
Sorry, I think what's the issue there?
Okay.
So the first session.
Say for whatever reason the player misses the first session, then he misses the second session. Now he's on the final day. Yeah, there's no sessions being played, and on the final day, if he wants to, you can't. Yeah, you've just explained it. He'll go in he'll go in the favour 4-3, 4-3, and then carry on.
Yes, because that's what I added in this question, and that's what I'm hoping people will see. And that really is. I like the fact that you share the sessions. If both players don't turn up, then it's shared equally.
Yes.
But if one player is waiting, then they get the extra frame advantage.
Yeah, this is down to proof of communication.
Yes.
Or you award the advantage to over the missed sessions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's why we.
Yeah. So if you've got a player communicating and you've got a player that doesn't communicate, and the player that is communicating will get the advantage of that session 4-3.
Yes.
That's fair. You can't do anything else. That is perfect in this scenario.
Well, I hope that other players will see it that way, and that they're not going to be upset that they're not playing the full frames. And that, so, for example, the opponent could say, "Well, I'm happy to forfeit the first and second sessions because I can only play one session."
I mean, look, I'm in lower rankings. I'm a newbie here, and to be honest with you, I'm still learning the game. I'm still learning the tables and the angles and the positions and the speeds and everything. But even, if I come against a player and I've got a 2-frame advantage, I'm going to be very happy.
What scenario is that?
Okay. Use me as a prime example because I'm the newest here, and possibly, I am the newbie. I'm not as good as the other guys. I'm still learning. I'm still learning the table, the speeds, the angles, also trying to understand other people's games. And so, there's no way I'm going to enter a competition and just fly through it and win easily. I'm not. But in my personal situation, if my opponent couldn't make it in the first 2 sessions and I was going into the final session with a 2-frame advantage, I would be very happy.
Yeah. And that's something your opponent has to think about.
Of course, that is encouraging him to give the commitment that's needed, and if he can't, then that's his forfeit. That's the penalty.
Okay, so let's regroup. So, in the future, this is especially for the next season.
Yes.
So, if it's a long format situation, obviously divide up the best of amount into sessions of either 3 or 5 sessions. Or, the two opponents have to announce or confirm either on the first day or before it even starts, whatever we feel is an appropriate amount of time to give them. Let's say, for argument's sake, within a third of the time of the round happening. So, say if it's a 7-day round, then within the first 3 days, they've got to announce when they're going to play the sessions with their opponent, commit to sessions. They have the option to say, well, I can only play 2 sessions. And that means the first session will go in favor of their opponent 4-3.
Yes.
So a classic session is 7 frames. If we kind of agree on, I think that's quite fair. 3 hours of play.
Yep, it is.
And so if a player doesn't turn up on the day they said they're going to play up, then it's divided in favor of the waiting player.
Correct.
If both players don't turn up, it's just shared equally, 3 frames each, and just take the 1 frame off.
And you're going to judge this on communication that the players have, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They have to tell us. They have to confirm before near the beginning of the round. They have to confirm. So basically, they would have to state on results and fixtures.
Yes.
I cannot play tonight, or I'm here ready, waiting for someone for my match. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
You're not going to be no fairer. That is a fair solution to that particular subject, and I think the majority of the players would agree with that format. There may be players that don't agree with it, but what do you do? It's a fair solution. It's aimable. It's not putting anybody under severe penalties. If you don't turn up, you're going to be at 1 frame disadvantage. If you don't turn up for next session, you're going to be 2 frame. Everybody knows where they stand. You're not going to solve it any fairer than you have done. It's a very, very good solution.
Yeah, I think part of it as well is I'm trying to solve an insolvable problem. I'm trying to always find a solution. A problem comes up, and I'll try and find a solution to that. I think you get to a point where you can't. You just have to set the rules as they are. But so for example, a player who's been here for a long time and is not showing up for a match, do I cut him out, or do I just I'll give him leeway and allow him to come back in? That's the thing. So in a sense, I just have to be the same with everyone.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we'll bring it to a conclusion in a second. Can I just check? What I'll do is I'll clarify with you in a moment. But can I just check? Have you said that you went? Are you still on that match hub that I sent you?
No, I'm not. Can you send it again? Is it in green room?
If you go up, it's that link I sent. I can send it again.
If you send it again, please, David, I'll just go straight in then. into that. It's taking a little while to load. Okay, we're on first page now.
Right, go to there's WOCH overview, the next one along.
Yeah, I'm in that.
At the top, does it say click here to update your playing times?
Yes.
So can you, if you click that, then it should either ask you to sign in, or you should go on to the page anyway.
Yeah, I've been denied access.
Does it ask you to sign in?
Yes, request access. So you have to give me, because you've formatted the page, you have to give me permission to access it.
But is it asking you to do anything?
It says ask for, yeah, it's asking me to ask for access or switch to an account with permission. If I just take a screenshot of that.
Yeah, if you can, that'd be very helpful.
And post it onto the green room again. I'll just post it there so you can see what comes up when I do that. When I press that link, this is what comes up.
Your email is kendhop, the 2 P's, at gmail.com.
That's correct, David, yes.
Right, I've just sent you something now. Let's on that email. Let's see if you get it.
Okay, let's have a look. Yes, now I've got it. Just a minute. Now I'm in. Open Sheets. There you go. I'm in. Perfect.
Do you have access to only your role with your?
Yes, only mine. Just a minute. Let me try and do my sessions now. Then online snooker club. Yeah, I'm in. Okay, so now if I go to mine and press 3-hour sessions. Yes, it works. Only mine. Yeah, I can't alter anybody else's. Yes.
Okay. What happens when you try and alter someone else's?
It won't. Just a minute. Let me try and do a 2-hour session on that. No, it won't. It won't change it.
Okay. Well, that's helpful. I know now. I know why people can't see it now. So that's useful. So yes, using that you can, and on the right there's a date. So if you do update it or change it, if you can change the date that you did it.
Available date. Okay, you let me go into mine then, see if I can change it. Yes, I can change mine. Just a moment. Let me put it back again, and then I'll try and change somebody else's. No, I can't change anybody else's. I can only change my own.
And on the right column next to that section it says date it was updated.
Days and times, please updated you. Where is that? To the right?
Yes, on the right, to the right of that green button you just pressed.
Okay, maybe I've got to go to the next page. I've got 3 frames in this. I've got list of names. I've got the frame section, and then I've got the days. That's all I've got.
Right.
I'll take a screenshot and show you exactly what I'm looking at.
Yeah, thank you.
Green room, here we are. There you go. That is what I'm seeing when I go in on the link off the email you sent me.
Right, can you scroll to the right? No.
Just a moment. Yes, it did.
So,
okay, dates it was updated. Click to change the date to confirm when you're updated. Yes, it gives the option. It gives them the option. Yes. Do you want me to try and change mine?
Yeah, see if you can change yours and if you can change anyone else's.
So okay, so click to change date, confirm when. Okay, 6th of May.
Does the calendar come up when you press it?
No,
Double click.
I double click. Okay, just let me go back into it. Yes. Oh no, it just comes up S14. Click to change the date. Okay. So let me just type something in.
No, don't type anything in. Just click on the date itself.
Okay, just let me go back then. Now I've got to do something because it's gone blank.
Press Control Z.
Z. So I've got 2, yeah?
Control Z. You know when you go undo it, you go back, undo.
No, it's not undoing it. Okay, let me show you now what has happened on that. So on my particular one, it's going to be, this is what I've done. By clicking on it, it's disappeared in my section and it's coming up now, I think. There you go.
So you've clicked something and it's taken away some of the writing on the right column in red, hasn't it?
That's correct. Yeah, that's when I double clicked it. When I single clicked it, it didn't do it. But when I double clicked it, it disappeared. Now it's asking for a command for me to put a date in.
But is that on column AS?
That is on no, that's on my column KHP.
No, the column going down the top. You've got different letters.
Yeah, AS16.
Right. So the one I wanted you to adjust was AR, the one next to it.
I don't see that one.
The column next to it, it's got Monday, May the 6th, going down in white.
Okay, so let me press that one. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Just before you do anything else, do you know how to undo something?
Control Z.
Yeah. So if you press that a few times, it should what you did before should. If you keep doing that until it changes back.
Z.
Or in the top left-hand corner, you've got like arrows going to the left and right.
Yeah, tab, you mean? Oh, sorry, where?
Top left, under the green icon at the top left of the spreadsheet. You've got an arrow, like a curved arrow going left and a curved arrow going right.
Oh, yeah, undo.
Yeah, if you... Are you pressing the one to the left, yeah?
No, I don't know what I've done now. I pressed that and now... it's just doing it. Yeah, 6 of May's come back. That's it.
Right.
It's come
right,
back
great.
now. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's back to its original now.
Right. So can you change the date on your roll?
Yes, I can. Just a moment. Let me go into it.
So, yeah.
Let me put 7th. Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Okay. Can you?
Yes, it's changed. Let me change it back now because. Yes, it's changed. Okay.
So,
do you want me to try and change somebody else's?
Yeah.
I can't. You are trying to edit a protected cell.
Right. Okay. That's very helpful, that Ken. Thanks very much. So basically, the reason for that is obviously quite straightforward. If you change it, then I know I don't have to keep checking and working out whether someone's changed it or not. If someone just changed like a day or just one cell and they change it, then I know that someone's changed it.
Yeah.
So then I can. Yeah, then I know about it. And,
but these dates are going to change, obviously, because May 6 have gone, yeah?
Yes, that's what I mean. So if you were to change one of your days to a no, or if you changed it to 5 frames, you could only play 5 frames between 10 and 1 and midnight, then you would change that date as well because you've changed your preferences. Okay,
so you're changing across the board, you mean? Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right, so you've got access to that. That's great. Yeah, so yeah.
What you need to do, you have to send everybody the same email you sent to me.
Yes, what I'm going to do now is I think a few people can access it. So, but what I'll do is do what I've just done. I'll put everyone's email in the box. I put yours in so they can access it. Yeah. So I will do that in the next half hour. And the only other thing on that Match Hub thing that you were looking at, if you go back to that,
Yeah.
Go to the first page.
Yeah.
And it's got click here to update scoreboard on the top.
Click here to update your playing times on the first page.
Yes. On the Match Hub one.
Okay, I'm on the match. This is the same one, 1 hour, 2 hour session, yeah?
No.
No, okay, let me come.
Well, yeah, yes, it could be, but it's called the Match Hub.
Yeah, it's called. I'm on the Match Hub now. So where do I look?
Go to the first option, the first on the menu, WOCH scoreboard.
Okay, got you. Yep.
And at the top, you've got click here to update the score. So you've got the scoreboard there.
Yes. So let me click. Now it's redirecting me. Yeah. Now it's come up. Yeah. So now you can edit it.
Yes. So do you want to just check if you can?
Okay.
To just choose anything. There'll be no restriction here, so it's.
Yes, I can change it.
Okay, great. And the session, it says session 1.
Sessions.
In the middle. Middle column.
Session 2. Yep, I can change it.
Okay. All right, great. So yeah, that'll be for when we start, I suppose. I don't know whether we're going to need that, but anyway. But yeah, so anything else you want? Anything else you feel would be useful just to clear up? I mean, so you're agreed basically that moving forward, obviously we'll have more chats over the summer.
Yes.
Going into the next season. But what I'm thinking of is maybe of the 20 odd tournaments we have, just try and decide whether we need to make them user friendly to specific players or not.
Yeah, we've got some more members online now. Okay, they've all come in now. So, do they need to say anything? Do they?
Oh, is that
Jamie's joined. Ronnie's joined.
Ronnie, I can't see Ronnie.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi, Ronnie. Ken speaking.
That's Jamie, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's me.
Where's Ronnie?
Oh, I can't see him. He's doing his own separate chat or something in green room.
Okay.
So what thing did you come to? Arrangement?
Well, we're just coming to a conclusion. I think now we've been doing it for 2 hours. I mean,
I've been listening on YouTube. I've been fucking ragging my hair out at lunch.
Have you?
Yeah, a little bit.
I've saw some of your comments, but the purpose wasn't meant to have an argument. It was just meant to get some constructive criticism about what they thought.
Oh no, I get what you're doing it for, but like I said, it happened in the last tournament. It's when they're having like playing 2-frame sessions and stuff. It's just no effort from them at all. I just don't think it's fair. And like I said, we used to play ILMP from 12 o'clock till 4 in the morning, every player has played in that. So it's not like them playing at 4 in the morning at their time's a problem, because that's always when they play. They're always online at 10, 11 at night. Mushtaq, Mohammed, all of them.
So why do you think they're doing it then?
I don't know. They play 2-frame sessions against each other. You can't do that. You can't play 2 and 3. It's like an hour that. You can't just put an hour in a world championship or a China, you know. It's not a problem for the best of 11 tournaments and stuff like that. because you can finish them in a couple of days, but you've got to be willing to put the time in for these big tournaments, or just don't enter because you just cause all this trouble, man.
You've got to have an element of dedication.
I like the long format. I like playing 1st to 19 in a final. Like when you said before, it's like a professional thing. It's like it is. I take it seriously. This shit. I like to play it, and when other people don't put in as much effort.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go. I mean, the thing is, we're just different in the sense how we look at things, aren't we? I wouldn't go to as far and say that they're not making any effort. Ken's made the point which supports what you're saying, in terms of saying you have to really make it a bit strict, and then if they don't like it, then they're going to have to in the next tournament they're going to make sure they're not going to do it again.
Ken, did you enter the China last time? You didn't, did you? I heard you before because you knew you couldn't put the commitment in.
Yeah,
that's your own fault. The tournament's here for the play. You know, the players are supposed to be here to play the tournament. The tournament ain't here for the players. It's played when it's played. It's played how many formats it's played over, how many frames. And if you can't do it, I think that's a good idea. If neither complete it, you just drop down to the game before and let them play the next match.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it will change. People, once it goes stricter, they will start listening.
That's right, they will, because then they've got something to adhere to.
Yeah.
If it's the case that they're doing it, and that's what I mean. You say you don't know why they're doing it, but surely that'll be an interesting question to find out. If you're saying they're not putting effort in, they're just turning up for 3 frames and then they're just leaving.
When you get to the deadline day and it's 2-2 in a best of 19, in a 1st to 19 frame, they're not making enough effort. They're not.
The thing is, as well, is
it shouldn't get to deadline day.
No, it shouldn't get to that situation. And the higher ranking people, they can play 1 or 2 frames and win, and knock 1 or 2 frames off and win, and leave you deluded, and you've no chance of recovery. You've got to start all over again. It's a psychological disadvantage. I think it should be a minimum frame session, or a minimum.
I'd go time. I'd say
yes,
time myself.
Or a minimum of 2-hour session, or a minimum of 3-hour session. Commit to that session. If they don't commit to that session, then they have a 1 frame deficit. And as David's tried to put on Paul for people to understand, I think that system is very good. If the guys don't play up, it's a disadvantage of 1 frame to them, and they lose a frame at each session. And going into the final, the guy what turned up and communicated is at a 2 frame advantage, and it's got to be played on that final session.
Yeah. It's like where you were on about the sessions before, where you play 2 sessions, and if one player's 2 in front, he just won't turn up to the 3rd session.
That's right.
One, there's ways of people to cheat the way around stuff like
that. That's right. Yes.
Yeah, that was the flaw in that one. Yeah. So.
Or if I wanted to play, if I were playing Jasper, and I could say, I'm in final Jasper. It's supposed to be 1st to 19, but I can't make these days because I'm going on holiday. We'll have to play 1 session, and I can beat Jasper a lot easier over a 5 frame session than over 30 odd frames. That's my advantage to have a shorter format against him.
Or vice versa, because I think Ken, what you're saying.
I think the better player has more chance of winning a tournament that's a long format. That's my point.
All right.
If I wanted to play round 1 against Jasper and it's 1st to 9, I could say, it's just 1st to 4 Jasper because I can't.
Can Ronnie turn his television off?
I don't think it's Ronnie.
I think this is Jamie, Ken. That's talking.
Oh, sorry.
Is that better? Ronnie, I'm like.
That's better.
All right, sorry, man.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Jamie, but I think also it can work in reverse, because the higher ranking player, if an higher ranking player were going to play me only over 2 sessions, I would be at a disadvantage. If I was going to play him over a 19 frame session, it's equal, because I know I can come back. It's all about timing. If they get a quick 2 frame lead on you and say, right, that's it for tonight, I'm away.
But what solves that problem is just saying you're playing the full game. Otherwise, you don't get through. If it's a best 1st to 10 match, you have to play 1st to 10. You can't get 6 frames in and then start saying you can't make it and that. It's just, I don't get it.
Can I put this in the mix as well? if for whatever reason the match in question wasn't able to be played, the proper sessions were able to be played. I mean, just a one frame playoff could be a disadvantage to the higher player as well.
Well, yeah, but then in the other half of the draw, they're playing at 20. They're playing in 9 hours of having to get through that round. When in the other half of the draw, they're only playing an hour. They're only playing a 20-minute frame.
The point
you've got to have in a long tournament. It is about mental strength. It's not
It
about.
is. It is.
That's why that format's there. Otherwise, we won't play Worlds. If it ain't about playing a long format, just fuck the Worlds off. Start doing a best of 4.
It is because
I like the format.
Mental agility, mental, it does. You need stamina, you need concentration, and this is why the formats in longer matches are an advantage, because it's not only just shooting. You've got to be mentally prepared. There's a psychological factor to it. There's a stamina factor to it, and all this plays the part in getting a champion.
But I would say, Jamie and Ken, that there's a more better argument than that. We should actually try and play it as close to the do it in snooker. So have an 8-frame. What is it they play? An 8-frame session with a 15-minute break.
8 and 9, I think.
And then they have another 8 session after about 3 hours or whatever.
Maybe
we should.
They do 4 and a break, 4 and a break. That's your morning session, and then they do 4 and a break, 4 and a break in the night session usually.
Yeah, I mean, I would be one for doing that. Actually, I mean that would definitely make it a lot more enduring. And
do it over an 8-framer.
But then you've got to get people there on the same day, and then there's less flexibility. Then if you have it over 7 days and you can play when you want, that's a lot more flexibility for players to be able to pick 3 sessions out. If they get 6 days, you only need to play 3 days.
But when the people are filling the polls in, and when they are putting that they're available on this day, this day, this day, this day, what are they actually committing? Are they thinking, I can play half an hour that day, I can play 1 frame that day? But if it's set down, each day nominated, it's an 8-frame session.
Yeah.
You will get a better response and a better commitment from.
Or just a time limit. Say you have to play from 10 till 12.
Yeah.
10, you've got to put in at least 2 hours. You can't. If you fuck off before the 2 hours for any reason, you lose a frame or something like that. Just because it's the final deadline day. It's only 2 apiece in that other match. So you've got to play another 20 odd frame, and then it's like, we'll just play best of 4 then. And it's like,
it's making a mockery of the tournament.
It does take away from the tournament, definitely.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Because we have loads. About 80% of the tournaments we play are like best of 4s and stuff. But these are special tournaments, so like Triple Crown events, pretty much, you know.
Mm.
But I take it serious, so maybe I have a different opinion than a lot of people, but.
No, I think majority take it serious. I mean, there wouldn't be different ranking players if they didn't take it serious. They'd all be just knockarounds, but they're not. It's a serious thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of them. It's like you can't please everyone, but if you know you can't make it for that tournament and put the time in, just don't enter it.
Yep.
I think that's just the easiest way of doing it.
There is another factor, and an important thing that David brought up earlier is if you over police tournaments, are you going to start losing your members? Yes, David, I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah, if you police it too strictly, which you've got my vote. It does need policing a little bit more strictly than it is been doing. But if you police it too strictly, is there a danger of losing your members? Then there's going to be no game for nobody.
All right.
I think there's 12 players that we've had for the last year that enter pretty much everything. I don't think we've lost any players recently, to be honest. I can't remember anyone who's left too recent because of the format's too hard for them. Everyone joins the tournament, so it's not a problem for them. You're not forced into playing every tournament. You can pick and choose like Ronnie does. if you don't want to play them, you just play the big money tournaments like Jasper does. Jasper just turns up for some big ones. He probably gives us a chance not playing some others. To be fair,
Yeah, you're right.
He probably plays less trying to keep us involved. He don't want to win everything like Ehrman did back in there.
Mm.
You know,
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah,
I think I've just had some disconnection problems. I've been trying to get in and know you've just been carrying on as though you can't hear me. I think what we need to do is just to decide the basics. Just do we agree that a 7-frame best of 7 is like an average session? And do we accept?
I'll tell you what I would do, David.
I
would say a 7-frame minimum session, and it's up to players if they want to continue after 7 frames. But it's a minimum request. When you turn up for a session, you play a minimum of 7.
We all, yes, but 3 yes. So 3 hours is 25 minutes, roughly just over 7 hours. So just over 3 hours, which is roughly, I think, the average time.
I think you've dropped, David. We can't hear you, David.
No, I can't hear you at a minute. You're just going in and out. I think he's signed off for a minute.
But 2-frame sessions are no good to nobody.
No.
That it takes that you know, it's not.
Hello, David, you're dropping in and out. We haven't got the full conversation.
I still can't hear you if you're talking.
David, we cannot hear you.
They might have dropped. So yeah, they're not good. Them two. Like I said, when it's getting to deadline day, they're saying, "Oh, they've got 18 frames they've got to play," but you should never come to the last day having 18 frames to play. It should never be like a 2. It should never be free after they've had 5 days to play. You know, they've only played. That's one session they've used in 4 days, and that's pretty much what they've done.
You know, I mean, typically you're talking to China now. They've got 18 frames to complete tonight. Yeah. They're never going to do it. Never.
No. So I understand, but it should be after the first 2 days. Once you find out they've only played an hour or 2 of snooker, you've got to tell them you've got to put time in over the three remaining days. You've got to put time in.
See, when you the other aspect to that, Jamie, is what about the players who've knocked out who could have played the games?
Exactly.
This is where the unfairness comes in.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now, David.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, so where are we then? What are we talking about?
Well, we were go on, I'll let you go, Cam.
No, we were just discussing the predicament of the China Open now. You know, these guys have gone to deadline. They haven't shown commitment. Now they've got 18 frames to play tonight. Okay, if they aimantly between them say, look, guys, we're going to play best of 3. Okay, that suits those players at that particular time. But this
takes away from the tournament. They're in the final.
You're talking at final, and not only are you talking at final. What about the poor guys that've knocked out along the way who could have committed the time? This is where the unfairness comes in.
That's the thing. If you enter, you've got to be willing to play. Like I said, or it does end up like that. It's unfairness to the people who've been knocked out and are willing to put the time in.
Well, is that not presumed? But what's the reason you think they're not playing it?
I don't. How long did they have? When did this final start from?
Well, I don't think you caught it earlier, but this is what I was told. Mushtaq said he lost connection.
But he did that with Mike. He did that with Mike the tournament before, and then when I was playing him in the first session, he dropped out twice as well. He's just got to get better. Fucking at the end of the day, he's got to sort his connection out. It's going to keep happening. If he can only play 3-frame sessions, it's no good to any of us. Not if we're in these when it's World Championship next. If he's not sorted his connection out, it's just going to happen again in first round. And Mike dropped out of the last thing. You give him the last frame in the last tournament because he couldn't be bothered with fucking restarting the game every time. It's no good. He freezes, he drops out, and then he don't complete his matches. it's like 3 strikes almost. I don't want him gone at all. That's not what I'm saying, but he's got to try doing something. Rafat gets through him. Rafat's been doing well. He used to have connection problems, but we don't get anything from Raf with that anymore.
Well, let's be fair. I mean, Mushtaq does. I'd say, I've had to guess. There's probably issues on a third of his match, a third of the time in an event. It's not all the time, is it?
It annoyed Mike enough for Mike to drop out, and then, like I said, I played him the time after, and you're there for an hour. I turned up at 5 o'clock on a Sunday. I'll usually pass my daughter at 5 and do a tea. I've dropped my time to play earlier, which I don't usually do, but I can do on a Sunday, so I don't mind. And then we played for 10 minutes. He dropped out, and then he just didn't talk to me for an hour, and then he just popped back on saying I can play.
But what I'm saying is that might not be his fault. It might not be his fault in the terms that he lives in Pakistan. He has a bad connection.
So why enter a 35-frame tournament if he gets to the final? He's never going to. He could play for a week with his connection and not complete that. It's not none of our problems, though, is it? We all entered with our own time. We're all willing to put our time in. But
in Mushtaq's defence. I had issues with him early on in one of the competitions. He timed out three times in a frame, and then he said he lost connection. And I was relatively new, and I was quite upset about it.
One sec. Sorry, I'll just go on pause. Won't be sec. I'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Right, no worries.
And then, realizing where he lived in Pakistan, and they do have bad connections sometimes. But you're right.
But that becomes our problems as well. Then
that's right.
In the world, I feel sorry that people have problems in the world, but you can't take everyone's problems and then
that's
bring them into it just gives everyone problems. Then
that's right, because it reflects on tournament and it gives it a sour taste, and it takes the credibility away from it. I agree with you.
I'm willing to if it's someone like Mushtaq, if there's a 5-day you can play it, I'm willing to play it every day for an hour or two. At least try and get it done. But when they're turning up some nights, not other nights, and then they're playing 1 or 2 frames, and then,
it's impossible.
And it seems that the connection's all right because they stay around and watch me play sometimes. I'm playing just friendlies. They'll finish a match at 2-1, and then they'll both come and watch me. And I'm like, you're both around. Just play your fucking frames.
That's right. But going back to what I suggested earlier, is people know what they're entering into.
Exactly. That is my whole point, really. If everyone knows what they're doing, you have a description when you sign up for it, and you know what days. It tells you. Alan does all this work saying, round 1's these days, round 2. Do you know what I mean? He puts all that work in, and then people can't complete the frames.
It's making a mockery of it.
Like I said, I've been here 4 years, man. We've been through many problems. I've had many arguments with Al, not arguments, but many discussions. But it usually sorts out. And I think the players we've got now, I don't think we need to worry about how many players we've got in tournaments. I think it's just the people who can play and get the tournament done properly. Just they enter,
That's right. Yeah.
But like I said, it is kind of privileged that I've got a great connection, and but it's not just that. I put time in. If people want to play, I played fucking 1 to 10 matches in one night. I've put fucking 5 hours in a night playing. When your connection's good, that's when you've got to play.
That's right. You make best of the situation.
Yeah.
That's what I said. If it specified a minimum of 7 frames, and if both players are in agreement, continue. If not, at least you get in through your matches.
Yeah, or at least say when you're on deadline day and it's 2 apiece, you can't even say who deserves to get through. If you play 3 sessions and it's 10-6 or something, and you go, right, well, he's had the problems, blah, blah, blah. You can try and sort something out, but when they're not even a fifth through the match on deadline day, it just shows people aren't fucking putting enough time and whatever.
Yep. Yeah, it does.
It's fucking... Like I say, it's tough on that, but Alan's a contrarian as well. he asks for answers you're giving him, and he always has a. But what if he like, you know, it's freaking. You've got to look past the what ifs, and you've just got to make it the best for everyone to make it run better. And his cell, we what work he puts in.
Yeah.
He just makes it tougher on his cell.
Yeah, this is the problem. You know, people. The more options you give people, the more difficult his job's going to be.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was saying at least penalise a frame or something, so they know, so they're getting penalised for what they're doing.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, they'll just, like I said, nothing's changed recently. It's the same people. There's many players I've played, and I've never ever had a problem with finishing matches with them. I can always get in touch with them. Yeah, I can always. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
yeah, you know, and I made a point with China Open why I didn't enter it, because I couldn't commit.
Yeah, and I was listening at that point, and then Alan said something back, and I was like, just listen. If you know it's a long format, so it's one of them. If you were doing the same you were doing last week, but it were a best of 4 frame, you'd think, oh, I can probably join that. And you know, there's a couple of hours that you have spare, but when you enter something that big, you have to make sure you've got a week free, like a couple of weeks free. You can't be going on. You can't have an holiday in the second week and just expect people to wait around for you because there's deadlines.
That's right. You know, and that's up to individual players to show more responsibility and dedication to game, and it makes it a better game.
Yeah, it does.
You know,
like I'd rather beat someone who's come through the other half at tournament and played every frame. I don't want it to be like, oh, we haven't got time, so we'll just do 1st to 4. And I'm like, it's a 1st to 19 match. It's like it's totally different. And all the work I've put in and the time I've used. I've got a daughter, I've got work, do you know what I mean? And you're like, why am I putting my time in when other people can't freaking... They can't even say they're not turning up, some people, or do you know...
Yeah.
But, like I say, it won't end up with a fucking... We'll have this talk and nothing will happen. That's usually what happens. Nothing will get done. They'll let people keep getting away with it.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a shame. You've just got to take it from the offset. This is the conditions. This is the match. This is the time period. Can you commit or not? That's it.
And that's what I mean. Alan does that, doesn't he? It's like when you go on the description of the tournament, you go on the description, you're like, right, fucking out, first round, 1st to 12. Fuck me, that's like some doing. Do you know, and if you know you're going to struggle to get through round 1, you just don't enter.
That's
it's
right.
Like, you're just going to hold everyone else back. And then, like I said, the draw for the world should be done now, but we're waiting for Mushtaq to see if he's going to move up a level. He should just say, right, Mushtaq, don't move up a level because he didn't finish in time. His prize money will go on after, but we'll do the draw.
Yeah.
So then you can, instead of him moving up to 2nd seed, he stays at seed 3 or whatever because he couldn't get his match finished.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens anyway. But like I said, I think the players that are here all want to play. So if you want to play, just fucking get it done.
Yeah. That's what it's down to. You know, it's integrity of the players. They know what they're getting into. They know it's a 19 framer. They know, you know, there's a lot of frames, a lot of hours, a lot of commitment. You know, you won't take a job if you can't give commitment.
No.
You know.
Yeah, once you got sacked from that job, you're not getting any reference either. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can't put the time in. It's like, but it's one of them again. What we're going to say then. Fucking dropped off. Yeah, if Mushtaq is having problems on a certain day, it can go to Alan and it's like, right, we'll give you one more day. If it's just like every so often that someone has a problem, I think everyone's I'm flexible enough to, if you said we were going to play tonight and you didn't turn up, I wouldn't say, oh, I want the frames, I'd say, right, well, it should be all right for tomorrow then. Or the next day you can do, we'll play, do you know? That's
right. That's what I said to David, or Alan as you keep calling him. Give a window of time to complete sessions, and just give one extra day. And if they don't do it on that extra day, then they forfeit. That's it. They're defaulted.
Yeah, and then on that final day, you just say to the person that he beat in the round before, say if he don't turn up and you turn up, you play. Say it's Raph and Moore playing or whatever, and Moore don't turn up. Say right, Moore's dropped. Mo beat Jamie the last right. Jamie, can you turn up? You play Rafa in this, you know, and you
Correct.
drop that person out, and then they will start turning up. Like I said, if you're just giving them all these options to fucking, oh, I won't play today, I'm a bit thinking, you know, no, you've got to put. If you give them all the options, they won't play. They won't.
Correct. I did actually suggest that at one point when David says, "Well, then we won't have a final." I says, "Yeah, you would, because you bring the two losers forward."
Yeah, and they'll be willing to play. They'll fucking...
and you know that would show them that there's discipline, and it won't happen again. I'll tell you that for sure.
No.
It won't happen again.
That's what I mean. I was listening. That's when he said, "Oh, you've got to have tough love and that, and it's tough luck to him." And I said, "Exactly. If they can't make the, they know in that round. If they met round 3, it's going to be between the 18th and the 24th. They've got to finish. If they can't play between them dates, it's like you're just going to have to let the person you beat or someone else in tournament maybe can take your place. It's just that's how I feel it should be done. Which that wouldn't happen in real snooker. They'd just give the frame to the fucking other person.
That's right.
If you can't turn up, it's like
it's your fault.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So
I don't know if Alan's back or on his way back.
No, I didn't. Oh, he is still on. He's online.
Yeah.
I can see he's still on.
Yeah. He said it would be a couple of minutes, didn't he?
Yeah.
But like I said, we won't come to a fucking an answer tonight. Probably not ever. We'll just let people keep getting away with it.
Yeah, then it's going to, like you say, it's just going to be an ongoing situation. But by policing it properly and making an example, then people will start giving the commitment that they need. They should.
Yeah.
But unless you make an example, not so much make an example, but unless you enforce what you're talking about, then it'll never change. It'll never change.
Well, it's one of them. It's like if I were playing you tomorrow, I'd go, "Are you all right to play at this time?" And then we both just fucking turn up. Do you know what I mean? And you just play till when you can. And you get your 7 frames done, and then you say, "Are you free for tomorrow?" And you know if you're free, you know, once it's fucking that late, everyone's at home and fucking it's just if the matches were close on deadline day and they were a few frames from finishing, it's just like on long formats like this. I didn't score before and it was like 3-2 or something. I'm like, it's deadline day. But like, I played last 2 nights. I'd got home from work at 10, straight onto laptop and played Rafa twice. Ended up getting beat 4-1 or something. But it weren't my preferred. You know, I'd prefer a bit later if I could. But I know I've got to get on as soon as I can against someone like Rafa.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit later for them as well.
Yeah, it is. You know,
but like I said, I don't think the time thing matters because, like you said, we've played them ILMPs before where we've played till 4 in the morning, and you're up till 6. I'm up till 4, and I think Rafa and Mustak are all. This is the time of night they play. Everyone plays at this time.
And when you play them, everybody goes and they stay all night. So
they just come and watch random matches, and you're like. Everyone's right. That end, I don't think that's an excuse. I think that's just giving people an extra excuse.
That's right. You know, and that is living.
And there's too many excuses already.
Yeah, and that is living proof. These one-nighters, everybody enters, everybody stays well end. You know, I'm here well 6 o'clock in the morning. So you know, 7 frames sessions.
That's 6 frames just in the round robin. You play like 6 frames, and then if you get to semi, you play a frame, and then you play another 2 in final. It's like you play 9 frames in a night, and it's like if you can do it over one night. These are big tournaments where you go down in history kind of thing because it's a 4-year thing. So there's like rankings, there's previous winners. You're on. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's a lot more serious than just winning a one-night tournament. Like you enter into it, you're given the format, you're told what days you can play. It's all set up there for you. Yeah,
I've gone in quite a few of them. You know, and I've actually won a few. You know, and I've been there like you said, 9 frames, 10 frames in one night.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a good buzz. But we stopped doing that because people kept dropping out halfway through. Like you get to last round robin match and someone's dropped out, so you're like, do we erase all the matches before? And it's loads of fucking about. It's like if you enter, just fucking finish.
Yeah. I'm back, guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're all right.
No problem. Yeah, it's a valid point, you know, and I did mention this earlier in conversation. These one-nighters, you know, I've won a few. I've played 9 frames, 10 frames, you know, so...
And then everyone turns up the next night as well to play the exact
Yeah,
same thing, and they know they're putting
exactly.
it's 9
So-
frames, and if they get to final, they've got most of them. And we stopped playing that because people started getting to fixture 5 and then dropping out and fucking it all up.
Yeah, so...
And it's come back over onto the proper tournaments now. It's like if you can play 9 frames in a night against different people, you can do 7 frames in a couple of, you know.
Easy.
But there's a balance. I mean, the purpose of this is just to be constructive, just see what the situation is, and just try and make it better for everyone. I don't feel that Mushtaq, Rafat, or Mike, for example, Mike is has issues where he's not been in contact for eight days and stuff like that. So I don't feel these players are doing it on purpose. It's just if
you don't message someone for 8 days and you don't tell them where you are, that's your fault. You've got 4 days to finish the tournament, and on deadline day we're trying to find you. You know, you just chuck them out. You just chuck them out. I know it seems thingy, but you chuck them out and then say next tournament you enter, you get a -1 handicap or something. So you carry it on to the next tournament.
Yeah, that's the default.
Once you've already picked and once you've already signed up to that tournament, it's like you sign up to any contract, sign up to your mortgage and try and get out of it that easy. You can't sign something and say you'll put the time in and not do it. It's just not the way to do it.
Yeah,
it's a gentleman's sport.
Yeah. I understand that. That's the default position. And if Mike had not got in contact, and he only got contact yesterday, if he'd not got in contact, then I probably wouldn't have put him in. But what I'm saying is there's a balance to this. You know, yes, we can sort of say...
Can I ask you one thing, Al? Why is this match only like 3-2 on deadline day when they've been on every night? When I've
like I said...
around, it's like they're doing 2 frame sessions 3 nights a week, so they do 6 frames in 3 nights, and it's like you do more than that in one night. Just play one proper session and go from there.
Yeah, but don't you think they would have done that?
I don't.
You know, you're presuming. Well, I don't know what you're presuming.
Well,
but in my view, Jamie, in my view, Mushtaq has always got back when something's happened. He's put posts on saying, "I am not an unfair player." Blah blah blah. I'm happy to give anyone the game. I don't think overall
why is he saying he's not an unfair player? Because people are probably saying that.
But yes, because people are coming. People are adding 1-on-1 and. Yeah, because people are putting 1-on-1 together and coming up with 5.
No, you can do something wrong without meaning to do it. It's one of them. Maybe you've just got to sort your connection out a bit, because we have no problem with Rafa anymore. We used to do the exact same with Rafa. It used to be the exact same where you get, and it's one of them. It just, like you said, there's 14 people here. You can't all just pander to one person.
No one's pandering. We're just trying to see
when it's deadline day and you're saying just play a best of 3, that's pandering, man. When it's a 19-frame competition, bet 1st to 19, and it's 3 apiece on deadline day. So
should we not allow you to play because you can only play after 10 now?
Well, 10's the default time.
Well, it's not. There's no default time.
And with Mushtaq over there, like I said, I turned up at 5 on a Sunday. You can't say I'm not third players at all. I'll play whenever I can.
I know. But what I'm saying is the default time, which has been up until recently, 7 till 10.
At that default time, you should be able to put 3 hours in a session. Whatever your default time is. Whatever time you decide to play, you should be able to play for 2-3 hours. You can't just turn up for an hour and go 1-1 and go carry on tomorrow.
No, but what I'm saying is it's changed. We had it at OSC 7, we was played at 7 o'clock, then we had OSC 10, so it was 2, then we brought them back together again. Just let anyone play whenever they can. We've tried to make it as flexible as possible. But obviously, if players can only play at 10, only play at 7, then it's going to be very difficult to play in it. So that's what I'm saying. Your times have changed from when you used to play earlier, and now it's gone to 10. So, you know, do we not let you?
I can still put 4 hours in every night. You can't kick me out of something if I can put 4 hours in at any time every night.
No, but Wim can only play up until a certain time, for example, or other players.
When it comes to someone like that, like Mushtaq the other day, I'll start at 5 or I'll start at the time they can do on the weekend. When I'll make time at weekend, you know what I mean? I'll play in the afternoon if I need to. But I think the default time for everyone is 10. We used to play ILMPs at 11 o'clock till 5 in the morning. You can't say people can't play at night.
Well,
Everyone can play at that time, I think.
well, to be fair, the most popular time from these polls that we've done is 9 o'clock. Is 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock. In terms of, for example, Mushtak can play 8 o'clock till 11. So that means if
he
can
only play 2 frames in that time because he keeps freezing.
Well, no. He doesn't keep freezing. He does freeze more than others. But what I'm saying is, if he come up with you, for example, if he's drawn against you at any point, then your match would have to be between starting at 10 and playing 3 frames, because he can only play up until 11. But he said he can play 7 frames after 1 o'clock, so maybe that could be worked out.
Well, that's what we did last time. I played him in last round. We played up till when he went to pro, and then I let him go to pro. I let him have an hour, and then he come back, and we carried on. We're all fucking grown-ups. We can all come to we should be able to come to arrangements with each other. There's 7 days in a week, and most of us can play. I can play all 7 days after 10, and on a Saturday and Sunday I can play whenever, if needs be. But
yes, but what I'm saying is your situation.
If I'm not willing to do that, because there's a chance I come up against someone who don't play at my time, so I've got to go and be flexible, and that's what it's about. I'll be flexible, but if people are only being flexible for an hour, it's not flexible, is it? You've got to be able to put time in.
Yeah, but I'm just making the point that sometimes our situation changes. But
how many matches have we struggled to get through recently?
This is the point. This is not supposed to be. This is not an issue. I just put out there a question just to find out.
It is an issue. It is an issue. They shouldn't be playing for.
But I'm not saying we're going to do this. I'm just asking.
No, but
I'm asking when you.
I'm asking it's not an issue, but it is an issue.
It's an issue for you, it seems.
No, it's an issue.
You're making it into an issue.
No, it's these tournaments. You set up. You do all this work and say we're doing 1st to 10, then we're doing 1st to 13. If you enter that, that's down to you to fucking play. That's not that you're not forcing anyone to enter these tournaments.
Yeah, no, but as I was saying before, there's a balance, isn't it? Yes, okay, we can accept that we're just going to have these players and we'll stick. But if we're going to move forward and maybe if other players are going to come in, we just
no other players are going to come in. We've had an average of this because these are just the players who play the game. There's not most of the other players are foreign and they play at different sides. The reason I don't know. I just think we've always had around 10, 12 players. We're never going to have 30 odd players in there.
You're probably right, and maybe that's because we don't have.
But you've got to worry about the players you do have here, and you've got to worry that them players can play the actual tournaments they're signing up for.
Yes, but you're suggesting we don't let them play.
Yeah, I am suggesting that.
And I agree to a point.
It's not letting them. It's not letting them play. It's if they can't adhere to the fucking rules of the game, then just don't enter. It should be down to them to know whether they can put enough time in. I know I can put enough time in every tournament, so I don't.
But technically, Jamie, the default time is 7 till 10. So
right.
Mushtak can play 7 till 10.
I'll play Saturday, Sundays, and there's no problem. I can play 2 sessions of 10 frames. There isn't anything you can say with you only being able to play after 10. I'd say right then I'll play Saturday, Sundays, and then it's down to them to be able to play 5-hour sessions. It's whatever I'm willing to play a best of 35 in a day. I've probably played matches where I've played 20 odd frames in a day.
What's your answer to the question in terms of why is it so I'm presuming
because the enter up to a tournament where it's a set amount of frames, you can't just say we'll just play 1st to 2. You can't do it. I don't think it's right. And although you're saying the players do agree, it's like me. I think I've got more of a chance of beating Jasper over 4 frames. I think I can quickly nip 1 or 2, and then he's on back foot then, and he has to win the next 4. I reckon it's easier to beat someone like Jasper for me. So I just said to Jasper, I can't play this week. We can only play 1 frame. If you want, I can start making it work in my advantage. I'll do what these are doing. I'll say I can't play you, so we'll just play first to 2, and I'll just catch people cold and put, you know, and then you're done. You know, when you give people rules they can bend and break, you'll get people trying to do it.
So,
But how many tournaments do we have, Alan? And how many of them are best in that? How many of them were the final is more than first to 6? I bet you 80% are short tournaments. So if you're going to do long tournaments, do fucking long tournaments. Do you know what I mean? I don't see part of doing a long tournament and saying just play 4 frames when it's best of 19 or something. It's stupid. Otherwise, just cut all the big tournaments out because there ain't a problem with small tournaments. If you can't finish first to 6 in 3 days, then they definitely don't deserve to be playing. If you can't play fucking 11 frames in 3 days, if that's not a problem, why is it a problem doing it? You get 5 days to complete the high of. You still get the same amount of time, really.
All I'm just doing, I'm just trying to protect the limited amount of players we have. I don't feel anyone's doing it on purpose. I do feel certain people.
I've seen it last 3 tournaments. People offering best of 2 frames, and it's like you've got 2-3 days to go. You're completing the match early and only playing first to 4.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is Mushtaq is in the army, and there may be, and he lives in a place that is quite far away. He may have a bad connection. Now we could say, well, unfortunately, Mushtaq, you're gonna only have to enter the matches that are 1 session matches, and we could say that. So, but all I was doing was just saying, if he was playing, well, actually, we got to a point where we kind of agreed. Are you still there, Ken?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah.
So we kind of agreed that what we should do is at the start of each round, everyone should state when they know who they're going to play. They discuss when you're going to play, what days and how many frames.
Is this adhering to how many frames the tournament's set for?
Yeah. So you agree?
So that's what we do anyway. If you sign up to a tournament, all that's there saying you've got to complete. So that's.
No, we don't do that. We don't do that. Not properly, not formally. If people just come in, I'll play this, and it kind of works out for itself. But what I'm saying is, like tomorrow,
we're not amateurs at this, are we? We've all entered tournaments and set our own sessions up.
Yeah, but
I said, if I'm playing Ken, I'll go. Ken will play frames tomorrow, and I've started doing that now. Before I start playing a match, I'll say we're playing 8 frames. Because how many times I've gone 4-5-0 up and they start going, oh, I'm tired. I said, no, you're playing the 8 frames. You can't be 5-0 down in an 8-frame session and then start saying you've got a bad connection.
Yeah,
just
correct.
You know that? But it gives people the chance to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm trying to. I'm just trying to make it more formal, where there is no possibility of someone manipulating it. So we at the start of each round, like tomorrow, when the fixtures are announced, the 2 players have 24 hours, 48 hours to confirm when they're going to play their sessions, and then they've got to stick to that. If they don't, then the frames are shared in favour of the one that can make it. If someone drops out,
it's like making it less flexible. That though, do you know what I mean? I do get what you're saying, but if you have to give the 3 days you'll play, that's where something's more likely to come up, and you can't. Well, no. That day.
Say me and you come up together, right? Yeah. So it's the 1st to 10, 19 frames. So we say, do you want to play that all in 1? Do you want to play it in 2 sessions? Do you want to play it in 3 sessions? Do you want to play it in 4 sessions? We've got 7 days to play it. What do you want to do? Then we agree on that.
So we can pick 4. We can pick 4, and then you say, right, I can play tomorrow. And like you both know, you have to come to an agreement between them 7 days, the 4 sessions you'll play.
Yeah.
At least that you'll have time to put the sessions in.
Yeah,
well, that's what I'm saying. When we're in an even longer format in this, and they're doing 2-frame sessions, they should be doing more than that in a small tournament. They should be playing 5-6 frames a session in a small tournament. Never mind China.
Yeah, I mean, you must know that I always off a default position, don't I? If you don't agree on a time, then you've got to follow the default. And I kind of put a basic default way. But
no one ever gets penalised for that, because we're all, like I said, we're not amateurs at this. We all know how to set games up with each other. But it seems to be it does seem to be the same player. I don't mean to be getting at Mushtaq because I like him. He's a good player. I like him around. He's good competition. But it's just tough when people are only playing 2 frames, and when they're coming to agreements where, like, if we play at Worlds and Mushtaq plays first round and goes, I can only play 6, but I'm at first round and I have to play 25 frames and it's 13-12 and I win. And then I have to play the same again in next round and just get through. I end up playing 100 frames and he could only play 40. You know, he could come to agreements with every player in every round. And then he plays 40 frames. I played 100 frames at the same time. It does take away. It's mental fucking. It takes away from you mentally. It drains you.
Right, like tonight, the China Open final is to be finished. Right, they've only played 3 frames. Now they played.
This was the same the last comp though. It got to the last day.
Well, let me finish, Jamie. They've already played 8 frames tonight, and Mushtaq's. They've finished now. He's got to go and do something. You can't take away the fact people have things to do and stuff. But obviously,
the problem with this as well, though, we're waiting for the draw as well, aren't we? The reason this match is so important, they could still be playing this match tomorrow and the day after, but they can't because we've got to wait for World Championship draw in case Mushtaq's the one after moving up in rankings, and we're giving him extra days to try and, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, that it looks as though they're looking to finish it tonight. Right? But now,
session's just finished.
Session finished at 6-5. So what do we do if they can't finish it tonight?
I don't know. Or does Mushtaq get the win and move up in rankings just because he's in front?
But
I get that it was the same the last competition, is what I'm saying. It got to the final day and we had the same conversation about all this. And then I said, I don't mind because it's the deadline day this time. I don't mind. We'll let them off with it. Let them play best of 4. And we were like, we won't let it happen again. And it's just happened again, the exact same. And there were 2 big tournaments then. The last 2, it's been the exact same.
So what are you putting? So basically,
if they don't play within 1 or 2 days of their fixture being done, if they don't play in the next 2 days, at least 1 session, they both get kicked out. That's what I say. It gives you 2 days to at least start the match, and you've got to play at least a 9-frame session or something within the 2 days. And if you don't do that, you both get kicked out.
So they had 3 days. I mean, but
say they've got 5 days to finish their session, the match. Within the first 2 days after the draw's been done, they've got to play at least 1 session. Because, like I said, it's got to the final day and it's 2 apiece, and they've had 4 days. How's it 2-2 or 3-2, whatever it was, after 3-4 days? They've played sessions, but they've not played a proper session. You've got to play proper sessions and get scores on board.
Right. Well, it looks as though they're going to finish it now. So Mushtaq. All right. Just let me see what Mohammed said. But what I'm trying to get from you, Jamie, is yes. Okay. So you're saying it happened
the last 2 tournaments, didn't it? Where it's gone to deadline day, and I'm sure it ended up being the final that we've cut short because they can't play. It's like, oh, we'll just play fucking best of 5 instead of best of 13, and it's like.
But what your solution is that for the final we disqualified both of the finalists. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying we're in the final now. Again, I said it's got to deadline day again, so we'll have to let them off of it again because otherwise it just fucking fucks the tournament up and we don't get a winner.
Sure, and
it's happened in the last 2 tournaments though, where they've got to the final day at 4 apiece or something in a 35-frame match.
So all I'm gently doing is just putting out there, is there any solution we have? What about this? What about that? Because this playing in 1 session, you know, if it's between 2 opponents, right?
It's their own problem though. They're left to sell a day left. They get sell a day left with 30 frames to play something. It's just, you know, and that's no one else's problem. They've just had 4 days to play frames, and they've played 4 frames in 4 days.
Yeah, but
is that not a problem? Shouldn't they be playing?
It is, but I mean, you know, so I'm just saying, do you not have any kind of understanding that there might be a time when it happens to you, and is there no leeway?
It happened in the last 2 tournaments. Like I said, we got to the deadline day last time and it was 2 apiece or something. So we said just play first to 5, then who cares? But we won't let it happen again. So I'm saying in the first couple of days that fixtures get drawn now, if you've got in the first 2 days, you've got to get frames on the board. You can't go into the deadline. You can't go into deadline day at 2 apiece.
Right. Mushtaq told me on the first day he's got a problem with his internet. He might be off for 2 days. That wasn't the case. He was able to come back on the next day, and they played 3 frames yesterday. So I'm just saying, if
his last 4 matches is a problem, so should that be a problem to everyone else? Should one person's problem fuck a full tournament up? Because, like I say, it's not the first time it's happened with me. It's been the last 3 tournaments. Like I said, Mike dropped out early in one of them because he kept freezing.
Let's presume
it's costing other players. Like, people are coming on expecting to play 8 frames, and then they're playing 2, and it's like, oh, you're waiting around. He comes back on, freezes again, times out, and it's like you're there to put a session in, and you can't do it because.
Right. So moving forward, then. So in the next season.
Are you talking now? Because I can't hear you.
I think he's dropped again.
Like I say, it don't go anywhere.
The suggestion. So what we seem to have agreed on. Anyone here?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Yeah. What do you mean it doesn't go anywhere, Jamie? I think in a sense, Jamie, you're making it more difficult. Than all I'm asking for is.
I didn't bring the problem up, though. You brought the problem out. It's deadline day. It's deadline day. And it's 2 apiece in a fucking 30-frame fucking tournament.
No, I'm highlighting an issue that we have that's annoying, and you're threatening to leave if no one agrees with you with your way of doing things.
Well, what's point in playing World Championship? It's not a big tournament if people can just play 4 frames in a session and go through to the next round. I'm willing to put fucking 25 frames in it in the first session, in the first match. And no one seems to be like I said, last 2 times it's gone to deadline day.
Not everyone has your capability. You can't base it on only what you can.
I know, that's why I'm number 2, Alan. Not many people are as capable.
Sure, yeah. But all I'm saying is, right, so there may be just one aspect we can just tweak and make it that everyone is on the same page. So we're saying at the start of each round, you kind of must confirm, make public when you're going to play your session with that player, and then we know then that on the Tuesday you said you're going to play, the Wednesday and the Thursday you're going to play over 3 sessions. Now if someone don't turn up on the Tuesday, then that 7-frame session is split in favour of the waiting player.
Yeah, but
if that happens.
But it's going to be stipulated that session is a minimum of 7 frames.
Yes.
Yeah. Then you can enforce the 4-3 disadvantage. Yeah.
Yes, it's got to be an odd number. The session, the default session's got to be an odd number of frames, so
yes,
you can give it to the advantage of the play doesn't turn up.
Correct.
I think that'll work.
Okay, cool. So, so I think the thing that makes it easier is the fact that we have to confirm when we're going to play. Because Jamie, you like to, for example, you play straight away, don't you? You'll come on the green room and say, "Do you want to play now?" And then, like for Jasper, you played an extra 4 frames and you just finished it off.
Yeah.
So that's the way you like to do it. But sometimes, though, in that sense, you're in the semi-final and someone's still playing round 1. So, but that's not a problem. At least you're getting your matches finished. But
well, that's not. But you know why that ain't a problem? Because no one's waiting on you. Then the other side is a problem because then people are waiting on you. If you're not getting your match, if I'm in front, who cares? I'll be there, and then I just have to wait even longer for the person to get through the next couple of rounds. Yeah. So that's not a problem, but it's a problem when I'm waiting for someone, and it's still fucking 2-2 after 4 days.
But you understand, Jamie, that if you look at any kind of product you buy or any service you take up, there's terms and conditions, and if you look at the terms and conditions, how long those terms and conditions are, yeah. There's a reason for that, isn't there? Because there's so many connotations that can happen, And I'm sure
This,
Ken
it
understands.
it ain't rocket science, this though, is it? You go to a tournament, it's World Championship, finals, fucking best of 35.
I accept that, but I'm saying there is an element where you have to just be a balance, and
all I want is people.
it can't be just you saying this should be this should be that. I can do it, blah blah blah. So everyone should do that. Everyone's got their own kind. Everyone's got a kind of situation.
But that's not how it is. You put out an invite to a tournament, and they accept it. I'm not. Once I've accepted it, just because I take it serious and they don't, that's not my problem. You stipulate everything. You say this tournament's here and the deadline's here. You've got to get through round 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then like I said, after 4 days and it's 2-2. That's a problem. That's 1 frame a day. I play that in fucking 10 minutes.
Well, like I say, I'll put forward these.
I think that's a good idea. Though I think that gets away with it. What you're saying. You have to stipulate the days you're going to play and how many frames in a session. And if someone doesn't turn up, you just split it.
Yeah, and you can't start.
But that's tough as well, because if I'm playing Jasper and I'm even with him after first session, say we're playing best of 35 and it's 6-6, and then I think, say I'm practicing and I'm not playing well, I can just not turn up and then it ends up being 4-3, so I'm only 10-9 down, even though I know I'm playing shit. So there's just ways to get around stuff like that.
I don't understand that. What do you mean?
Right. I'm playing well one night, and I've got Jasper. So we play 11 frames, and
This is your first session, yeah?
Yeah. So I end up 6-5 up in my first session.
Yeah.
And then if I say I'm playing around that day and I'm playing absolutely shit and I can't pot a ball, so all I need to do is not turn up that night that we said we'd play, and he gets 4 frames and I get 3. So it still ends up 9 apiece, and so I've got 3 frames off Jasper, which would be very tough to fucking win. But I've got him for free just for not turning up.
Well,
there's problems with everything. It's like the session thing you said before. If you play 2 sessions and you get beat 5-4 in both sessions, it's just they won't turn up for the last session. And then so they win 2-1 without even turning up. There's problems with everything that you can put in. People should just come and play the frames.
On that scenario, what you've just said, if you're 6-5 up on first session, and Jamie, you don't turn up, so you default, so you lose the next session at 4-3, yeah.
Yeah.
Going into final session 9-all, Casper, I think Casper would be very happy at that.
I don't think he would.
I think if you've won 6-5,
18 frames, he should be 12-6 up on me. I get 1 out of every 3 frames against Jasper.
But then that's why there's a next session to finalise it.
No, I know, but then it gives me a better chance. I can go into that last frame knowing I can be playing better again. You can do it if you're not playing well, you just won't turn up.
You can do that in any session. You can play brilliant in one session, then turn up for the next session and play absolutely rhubarb.
Jasper could be.
I could freeze in that first frame and say, I can't get back on tonight, my internet's gone. And then we split them frames, and I'm like, fucking hell, I'll take 3 frames from that. I just think there's... It's unlikely, but everything we're saying is unlikely. Everything's like fucking...
But then you're relying on the integrity of the players, and I don't think there's.
Well, actually, no. Let's just clarify that. Don't forget, you can give advance warning and say, I can't actually play tomorrow or tonight, but I can play the next. As long as you can move those sessions forward and you both agree, you don't have to play or have them shared. As long as it's only if you don't turn up.
It's one of them. Like if you've got 5 days to play your match and you don't play it first 2 days, and then you've got to play a session in the last 3 days. So if you can't turn up to then what do you do? It has to be split because you don't have an extra day to add on.
No, because then you go back to communication. The player that's communicated all the way through gets awarded the advantage.
Yeah, but they only get half the frames. Say it's a 7 frame.
They get 4-3.
They get 4-3, and sometimes that'd be good for me. Like if I weren't playing well and I had a good session against Jasper,
Yeah,
I could take three.
But you were.
I could be 6-2 up on Jasper.
You're missing a point, Jamie. You're missing a point. The point you're missing is if you cannot play tonight, you can mutually play tomorrow night. There's no problem. Once you've agreed to play that match and then a player doesn't turn up, then the default comes in. Just because the first session you can't make it, you can agree to do the session the following night. Nobody will get penalised.
No, but what if the first 2 days that you can play, you don't play, and then you're only left with 3 days left to play 3 sessions, and then if you miss a session,
you're intentionally using it to your advantage.
No, I'm saying just if it happens that way. Say the tournament starts on a Monday, but I'm busy Monday, Tuesday. I got to play them 2 days.
Well,
the match has to be finished by Friday still.
That's right. I said to David earlier, I did think of this being implemented by, or at least players having opportunity to implement it. I'm not implying somebody would.
No, that's what you've got to look. You've got to think of it that way.
Once the draw's set. Once the draw is set and everybody can turn up on the same day, that should be the starting day. So at least the first sessions took place on every match.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying now. We're getting it to the deadline day and it's only 2 apiece. They should have played 7 frames in the first day. They should have played 7 frames 4 days ago.
Yeah, but, you know...
what
you're actually doing...
problems this time, but...
Well, what you've got to do now is sort of get China Open out of your mind, because what's happened. We can't change it. We're at deadline stage now, and they're going to sort it out. But try to make future preparation.
But that's what I mean. This happened again the last tournament. It was rushed out, and they sorted out. Oh, we'll just play 1st to 5 instead of 1st to 13, and I think that just takes away from the tournament when players can just get to it. Like I said. If it's happened twice in the last 2 or 3 tournaments, it is.
But we're saying now in the future, you got to play a minimum of 7 frames.
Yes.
And you decide, and then you decide, and then we're going to play on Wednesday and Thursday for session 2 and 3. Or you could say we've agreed to play the whole match in one session for 6 hours or whatever.
Yep.
So. But there is a point to be made, though, regarding when you said that I can decide not to play that session and get 4-3.
Yeah, I'm just saying if it came to the deadline day, that's how it works. Say I were beating Jasper 6-2, and it were a 7-frame match, or like a session left or whatever. If it gets to a point where I only need the 3 frames out of the 7,
right.
If you don't turn up, then.
In that situation, I'm just saying, in that situation, what would happen is that the deadline set, the final session, will always be whatever the score is. Then you add 3. Then it's got to be 3 frames added onto that. There's got to be a 3-frame difference between the target and whatever you are in that situation. So what you're saying is, if you're in the lead and you miss a few sessions, then you could
you mean miss a few sessions to get to target where you want to be, then you would extend the frame size, so instead of being 1st to 12, it would be 1st to 15.
Correct.
That eliminates that problem.
Final session would be extended.
That's why I brought it up. I was just like, I thought it was a good idea at first, but then I was just thinking of ways it could be a problem.
No, because
if you miss,
sorry.
If you got to the final frame, the winning position through default, then the match would be extended by a further 3 frames.
No, I get that. Yeah, I think that's a good idea as well to stop the problem I came up with.
Yeah.
And plus, did you say something about stopping the game in the middle of a session?
Yeah, like what would happen if, like I say, if it were the same thing and you were in a 9-frame, and say I'm going to beat 2-0 off Jasper in a 9-frame session. And I just think, fucking hell, he's fucking on fire here. I'll just say I've froze, and then what happens then? Do you share the rest of the frames that haven't been played? And then
no, it's rescheduled night after.
Right.
Well, no. Say like you play the first frame of that session, and you feel, my opponent's on fire here. I think you know, maybe don't put this in concrete, but I think something like, well, whatever, if you leave during a session, then you lose whatever frames you've not played.
Yeah. Because
But
you've committed early on. You're saying that you can play a tournament. But the thing is,
more of a
Jamie,
problem for Mushtak then.
but the longer the game goes on, it don't matter if they're on fire. This is where it comes into the lower ranking.
I'm not scared of that at all.
No, it's not a matter of being scared. But what I'm saying is, you can play somebody who's on fire, but then your strategies come into play. Your mental strength comes into play. They might weaken, you might strengthen. So there's still an advantage.
That's what I like about the game. I'm not saying there's a problem with that, but I'm saying...
Yeah, I think you're playing devil's advocate, aren't you, Jamie?
Yeah, in this point I am. I'm trying to just figure out where the problems would come from. Do you know what I mean? It's like, because the person that would be a problem to, if the person who's going to time out and be thingy is Mushtak. If you met Mushtak play 9 frames and he does have problems like he does, this is going to end up putting these rules in. He's going to be harder on him than anyone. Because if I'm 2-0 up in a session and you say, oh, you get rest at frames because he timed out, that's more of a problem for him than already.
But I think that would be his problem.
Yeah,
but that's what I mean. This is his problem now. That's what I mean. It's exactly his problems still make it problems. Like I said, because what happens if Jasper is 2-0 up and someone times out and their internet goes off that night? And they've said they've played 9 frames.
Well, at least the game...
You can't just give the other 7 to the opponent.
Yes, it would be a problem for him. But what I'm saying, at least...
It'd be a lot worse. At least we get...
But at least we're getting to finish the match by the deadline. That's the goal.
Yeah, but are the frames that's missing, are they divided with 1 frame advantage to the person that stays? So if you were 2-0 up and it's best, and it's a 7 frame session,
you can't give the person who left any frames, can you? You can't say they've gone off, so we'll share the frames.
Yeah,
I might be happy with 2 frames from someone in that session. I might only need 2 frames.
Yeah, the person who leaves doesn't get any frames. Whatever frames are left to play from 3 to 7, they're either half of them are given to the player who is waiting, or all of them.
Or just put a clause in, if they leave, they've got an hour to return. If they don't return within an hour, then they forfeit the frames. That's it.
But I think this makes more problems, because we're all likely to have internet problems at some point. So
yeah, but it doesn't last for an hour. You'll freeze. Your internet will go off. It'll come back on.
I mean, if you have a power cut or something, and then you can't actually...
Oh my God.
If you have a power cut and your internet ain't on, you can't play that night. You can't play till a day or 2 after.
Then it's an act of God, and none of us can do anything about that.
So why are we putting these rules in now? Because no, I'm saying if we did put these rules in, why would we put them in? Because it doesn't solve any problem apart from getting the matches finished. All we need to do now is tell them if they don't finish the match, they get kicked out. We don't need to add all these rules. It's the exact same as Mushtak's going to be in as much as a problem if we add the rules as if we don't. So we might as well just say now, if your match ain't completed, the person you beat to get into the next round takes your position. You don't need all them rules then.
We don't have it. Just be clear, what we're saying is, if you come out of a session that's already started, then you lose those frames, those remaining frames.
But then everyone's got problems there, because if someone's internet goes off for the night, say you do it. I've had before where my internet goes off for a few hours. If I can't get back on, then my opponent gets 7 frames for free. So that's the problem.
What you've got to consider, it's same for everybody.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But it's their problem they're not getting on. It's not our problem if our internet goes off. It's the problem that these players can't finish the tournament, can't finish the matches. So if you have them rules, if my internet goes off and I'm winning, say I'm winning 10-6 and I'm 1-0 down in next session, you're going to take the rest of the 6 frames and give them my opponent for free. That's more of a problem. That's just stupid to me.
Yeah, I'm a bit thinking about. I mean, I don't know that this is up in the air. What happens when a session has started and someone then drops out? What happens there? So Ken suggested give it half an hour, try and establish whether the person is generally.
You're cutting out a bit there, Al. You just get distorted.
Let me just.
I just think any way you do it, it's a problem because you can't split the frames because then the person who's gone off is getting half the frames for free for timing out with their internet going off. And if you do it the other way, where the person who doesn't time out, they get 6 extra frames for free.
How many times does that happen?
Well,
yeah, I was thinking it doesn't.
that's what I mean. But if we were to bring these rules in, it's for people that can't finish matches. How often does that happen? I finish all my matches. It's only because we've got to a deadline day where it's 2 apiece when it should be fucking 10-10. You know, how often does that happen? So you're going to bring in all these rules that's going to affect everyone else. Like I said, if I time out and my internet goes off and you take 6 frames off me, I'm fucking off. I'm not playing again.
No. There's no rules. There's only rules if you're not communicating. So this really is to make sure we finish matches by the deadline.
Well, we'll just tell people they have to play more.
So you can continue what you're doing by shouting out to your opponent like you do and say, "Are you ready tonight?" or whatever. All we're asking now is you agree when you're going to play, and then if you don't turn up on the day you said you were going to do, then it's split 4-3. If you both don't turn up, then it's split 3-3. If you start a session and one of you leaves, then
problems come in. Then it's like, what if I only need 2 frames to win in a 7-frame session, and I just don't turn up, and you give me the 3 frames? I know you've said that you'll add 3 more on or whatever.
Why would we give you the frames?
Because you split the frames if I don't turn up.
Oh, right. You mean if you both don't turn up?
No, if just I cannot turn up. I can be 10-2 up, only need 2 frames, and I know if I don't turn up, I win the match.
Well, like I said, we'd have a 3-frame buffer, so it would be 1st to 13 then.
Or give the frame difference. If you were 10-2 up, then give the difference, add it by another 8, put another 8 frames on.
But what you're saying is logical, but what ain't logical is why we're bringing them rules in when it's only a couple of people who aren't finishing the matches. Why don't we just nip it in the bud at the problem where it's happening and not add all this extra shit?
But then you're targeting people. You can't do that.
But then I don't need to. When say I'm playing you, Ken, and I say, right, I'll play the next 3 days. If there's another 2 days after that, I know me and you will get that game done in them 5 days. We've got 5 days to complete a match. You know,
yeah.
I don't think that's it shouldn't be a problem for people to complete the match. And when you're talking about adding new rules and handicaps, and you add these points on and you split the frames if they don't turn up, you know.
Yes, Jamie, there's an element that there's 2/3 of players that we have no problems with, and there's a third of players who have some difficulty, whether it's because of internet connection or they've got other things. So what we're asking here is, do we cut them players out, or do we just adjust the rule, relax the rules, or make sure everyone's on the same page in order so we can get a tournament finished by the deadline date? I do actually understand what you're saying in terms of all the. You can still hear me, yeah?
Yeah, I just think the more rules you add, the more you can bend them, and there's more.
Yeah, I understand what you're
more
saying.
More grey area and stuff. It's like I said, people have got 5 days to finish matches. I think that's just more than enough. I do. I think players should be able to finish a match in 5 days. And that might sound fucking crazy. It might be a crazy idea to play 10 frames in 5 days or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It shouldn't. I think we're making more of a problem than it. It should be that. It should be down to the players who enter the tournament to know they can finish. If you know you've got internet problems and you know all this and you know you can't get it done, you're just making it hard for everyone else.
I think it's symbolic. I think it's more symbolic than anything. I think we can bend the rules now. With there not being as many rules, we can still bend the rules and come out of a game and only play 3 frames and stuff like that. We can still do these things.
We've got the freeze rules. The freeze rules sorted so many problems out. It really did, because the problem we had were people freezing at that point. But I don't think the problem should be people not being able to finish matches. I just don't. I mean, if you enter a tournament to play matches, you just fucking it up for everyone else if you can't complete it.
But I think it's symbolic. If we just announce this, if we decide this, it's symbolic. Probably won't happen. But if we just lay those things down, at least it will remind players that they do have to turn up, etc.
Well,
And they're
it's-
just in case.
Look how many frames they've completed tonight. They played fucking almost double then. They played in the last 4 days. I know there were a couple of problems and that, but it should be like that. There should be a need to finish your games. You should feel like, oh, if I don't get it finished, there's a penalty about it. It's just.
Yeah, I agree. But what I'm saying is your idea. Basically, it's either giving them an extra day or so, or 2 finalists stopping it, and we having to go back and get the 2 semi-finalists to play the final.
I think the easiest way to do it is if it gets to deadline day, you've just got to say it's best of 9. Like whatever the score is, you've got to come up with a target that ain't as big as the other one. But in the next tournament they enter, they just get a -2 frames on the next match or something. It could be as easy as that. If you don't actually complete your match, you just get 2 frames took off your next match you play.
Yeah, I actually thought of that before.
I think that's where you don't need to. You can say if it gets to deadline day, fair enough, Mushtaq, you've had problems, but in the next tournament you play, because you had problems, you get a penalty. And I think it's as easy as that.
Yeah,
I think you should say to these, right, just play, instead of best of fucking 35, play best of 21 or something. But the next match, you both get -2 to coffee in your next tournament you enter. And I think it's a penalty for them to want to complete because they don't want to start with a -2 handicap. And if they get to deadline day and they can't complete all the frames, they've just got to play what they can, what they agree to. And I think I think now them being able to, it's deadline day, so we've got to let them play as many frames as they can, and we've got to come up with an answer. But just penalise them for the next tournament, and then you don't need to add all this sessions and adding. It's if you don't get it completed, both players get a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, with a final, it's just those 2 players, isn't it? So. Yeah. If they did say, well, we'll play it a best of 5, what we could do is the frames that they've not played, we could penalise however many frames they didn't play in the next round.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I think it's as easy as that. I just think the tournament should be held where you've got to put in that time, or there's a penalty. And I don't think you need to go major penalties, but I think a couple of handicaps. Like it's 2 frames first time you do it, and then if you do it again, it turns to 4, and it carries the full year, or something like that.
So are you saying then that so at any point, so if you get a match and you don't finish it by the deadline, so on the deadline day you have to decide how many frames you're going to play with the opponent. You play it.
Yeah.
And whatever frames you didn't play are then added onto your opponent's.
Maybe not even that. You could do it that way, but in long form, like these are going to have 14 frames at the amp player.
Sorry, the percentage. You'd work out the percentage.
I don't know. I think you can just do 2 frame penalty, and then if you do it again, it's another 2 frame. I just think having it the first time you do it, it's 2. The second time you do it, it's 5.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
And it's very simple. It's simple, and people can't try and work around that because they're going to get penalised in either way.
That's right. And
but on deadline day, they can finish. We can
they
give them an easy
to what they want. They can finish to what they want. It makes no difference because the both players are going forward into the next tournament with a 2-frame deficit.
Yeah, so that's
perfect.
On both of them.
Perfect.
But it also includes the next round though as well, yeah.
No, only final. No, only final because it's about finishing on deadline.
No, I think you've got to finish your round 1s by a deadline as well, ain't you? So I think every round, if you don't finish that, we'll carry it over in tournaments. We'll say the first time in a tournament that you don't finish on deadline day, you get a -1, and then in the round 2s you get a -2, and then and do it that way. But if you do it in the final, it carries to the next tournament. And you can just make it 2 frames every time because 2 frames is a big deficit in some of these matches. If it's best of 7, first to 4, you're fucked if you've got a 2-frame disadvantage.
I mean, I'm happy with the 2-frame deficit. It's just working out. So
is that in every session?
Well, let's just think about it. To me, it makes sense. So, like, we're going to have the World Championship now. So, round 1. If they don't finish the match by deadline day, and they decide to basically,
we can allocate
if they don't fulfill the specific,
is this does this go to the defaulter or does it go to both players?
Both players.
But what about the guy who wasn't default, who's communicated all the time and said, "I'm here waiting, I'm here waiting. You agreed to play. You're not here. Why should he get penalised?"
Yeah, maybe we should just say the person who
defaults. What you should do is the person that defaults, instead of splitting frames, like 4-3, the person that defaults, the other person.
Yeah, the other person gets the penalty for the next round.
Yeah, because it's not fair otherwise.
Yeah, and that sorts out the thing where you've got your sessions and stuff as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a decent idea.
Right, so just go over it again because I'm trying to clarify it, but you keep interrupting me. So just tell me what you're saying, suggesting.
Right. So say round 1, we start and it's a 7-frame round. So first to 4. Say you're going to do it in 2 sessions, so 2 4-frames. If someone doesn't turn up, you've agreed to that day and you've agreed to play 4 or 5 frames. So whoever doesn't turn up on that day.
Yeah, but it's got a minimum of 7 frames.
Yeah. I mean, first to 4 would be 1 session game.
Yeah. Like, I just tried doing it easier, but the person
Let's go with the World Championship.
Right. So the first round at World Championship, say you're going to do it in 3 sessions. It's what is it, first to 10 or something, 19. So you do a
7-7-5,
a 7-7, and then finish it off in your final one.
Yep.
So you say the first session we're going to play on a Monday at this time. So if one player doesn't turn up in the next round, they get a -1 took off them. If you know what I mean.
If they
no, but you can't do a -1 because it's exactly the same as giving them a 4-3 deficit. It's same but reverse way around.
No, but I mean it's for the next. They still have to play to the finish.
Oh, they carry that minus all the way through.
No, they just carry the minus into the next round, just the next round. But like they do have to finish. They don't get any penalty for in that game, but they get a penalty for the next round.
But that's not solving the issue of finishing.
Well, it does mean that if they can't finish by deadline day, that they can shorten it down, but whoever gets through carries the penalty through with them.
But then it's deciding who was the one who we penalised most. You know, was it the first session player A was the one who didn't turn up, and player B was the second player who didn't turn up? Who you have to decipher who is the one at fault for you not finishing it on the deadline.
Yeah, I think that this is going to cause more complication. I think your principal idea, if they don't turn up, it's 4-3 deficit awarded to the player that didn't default, and whoever ends up in the final, the 2 players that go into the final and they haven't completed the sessions, like going into China Open now, 2-2 or 3-3, they both get a 2 frame deficit going into other tournaments. That encourages them to finish the matches on time.
I just think the 4-3 deficit thing don't work, because if someone only needs 3 and they don't turn up,
yeah, but then you're
gonna.
But listen, okay, then so you're 6-5 up against Jasper. Sorry, 6. Is it 6-5 or 6-2?
Say 6-2.
No. 6-5 is better. 6-5, and Jasper and don't turn up. So you're going to get 4. He's going to get 3. So that's 10-3. Yeah. So he's 8. So, but then you've got to extend the final. It's not to 10. You'll extend it to another 3 frames.
Yeah, it's got to be 3 frames difference.
Yes,
in the final session.
Do you know what I was thinking? You shouldn't do it in the sessions. You just do it in the matches. So say a round 1 match, if it isn't finished by deadline day, then the person who gets through carries the frame into the next match, not session by session. Do you know what I mean? It just comes to by deadline day. If you're not finished and you have to shorten it down, in the next round, whoever gets through carries the penalty. I think that's how I've meant it. That's simplified, because they still have to finish the match even if they have to shorten it, and whoever gets through has to carry a penalty against the person in the next round. You know, that gives them they do finish the match even if it's a short match. It doesn't matter about the sessions, does it? Because You can play a session. You can play a
That's
session.
not that. I think
It should be-
we're going off objective here.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I like the
thing-
idea you had that on the final deadline day.
Yes,
ca-
final
that-
day. That was
the-
a good
the
idea.
dead- The deadline day is the most important day, and
Yes.
that decides the match.
Yes.
So how
Yeah.
do we use that?
Then,
Yeah, so
then
we can
give them a
we
two
shorten it down. We shorten it down, and like we'll say, right, you can't complete the match, so we'll shorten it down. So that's taken away from the competition, but we know you have to let the match be completed so it can be done. And then if it's whoever gets through carries a penalty.
No, the both should carry the penalty.
The other one gets a penalty because they get knocked out already. Do you know what I mean? So
No,
it's just the person who gets
no, because listen, you've got two players going through, you've got two players got a deadline, and exactly same as it is now in China, they've only gone 3-3 in so many days, they're both responsible for getting themselves in that position, so they both should carry the penalty into the next tournament.
Right, yeah.
Even if he loses or wins, they're both committed, they both took part in it, so they both should get penalised.
But what happens if it happens in a semi-final is what I'm saying. Should the person who wins the semi-final carry it over into the final, and then the other person just carries it into the next competition? They both get a penalty, but one gets it in. It's in your next match. You get the penalty. If you get knocked out in semi-final, your next match is the first round of the next competition. But if you get through to the final, you take the penalty in the final. I think that's where you both get penalised. The match gets finished.
But that deficit stays with you all year, in every tournament.
I don't think that needs to be done. I think just the next tournament you enter is enough of a penal. You can say it's 4 frames.
Well, what's point in penalising it? What's point of penalising winner of a tournament 2 frames deficit if it's not going to be carried forward to the next tournament?
What about this? Right.
But they've started the final at -2. The final's a big thing. If I started the final 2-0 down.
No, because we're talking about the final.
No, I know. But both players in the final both take the penalty in the next tournament.
In the next tournament, yes.
Because they're already playing the final. The reason they're getting the penalty is because they can't finish it. So that's only at the end of the final that you find that out. So they both take the penalty into the next tournament.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, and if it happens in a semi-final, the person who wins the semi-final, but they don't complete it on time, he carries the penalty to the final.
Correct.
And the other person who loses the semi-final carries it to the next tournament. So they're both getting penalties again. But one will get a penalty in the final, which is a big penalty, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that sorts it then. We can drop the tournaments down where if it's not complete by deadline day, we can say, right, it shouldn't have happened, so you're both going to take a penalty, but just play best of 11 instead. So just get the match done so we know who goes through. And then next tournament, whatever, they both get the penalty still.
Yeah.
You know, I think it solves, at least it penalises them for, it lets them finish the match and lets the tournament go on, but it penalises them both.
Yeah.
Did you get that, Al?
Not really, no. To be fair, you have to clarify it again. So going into the World Championship, what would it be?
Right, so that's the next tournament. So because this is the final they're playing at the China Open, they can't be penalised at this point. But we're going to let them shorten it down, and they both take a 2-frame disadvantage into the first round at World Championship. The next match they play.
Right.
So now we'll say, right, you can drop down to best of 11 instead of best of 35 or whatever, just so they can complete on deadline day.
Mm-hmm.
But they both get a 2-frame disadvantage in the next match they play. So
even if one of the players was always available.
No.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think you have to. Yeah.
Because they're both responsible.
Yeah, they're both responsible to get to deadline day and complete.
But what if one of them was always there, saying, "I'm here waiting for the match. I'm here waiting for the match. I'm here waiting for the match."
I think we can. I think if it's something like that, just say you need to make sure you're known to be on every night. If you're known to be on every single night, or at least 3 of the 5 nights, you turn up and say, "Listen, I'm here to play." If you turn up all 3, then if you turn up for 3 sessions and they don't turn up, maybe we can say but you have to turn up for all 3 sessions, and you don't carry it forward. But I think that's easier to place. So,
Well, what's everyone's situation now? Are we kind of got to a point where we'll bring it to a conclusion, this talk? Because I'm just thinking,
so.
should we just sleep on it? We've gone through some kind of things now. Jamie seems to have kind of a rough idea what he feels should do, and me and Ken have kind of had a chat as well. So
yeah, I think we should digest and sleep on it.
Yeah, because I think we kind of, I think we're going to get a bit confused. It's going to get a bit too confusing and stuff. So maybe, we'll have another kind of meeting tomorrow or something.
I think we've come to some conclusions anyway, that tournaments should be played to the full amount of frames, and if it's not, there should be a penalty. I think that's what we've concluded so far, that people shouldn't be able to shorten matches down, otherwise they're penalised.
Yeah, because we did say that at the start of the match they should agree when they're going to play. Is that we don't need to use that then?
No, I think we just use deadline day, and if it's not done, they both get penalised.
I think you should. I think you should do that.
Can I just say, just an addendum to what you've suggested, Jamie? Instead of, why don't you, like, if a player, like say round 1 is Friday to Thursday to finish the match. So Friday you say I'm here, you get, and if a player doesn't turn up, then that player who turns up, the waiting player, gets like a fair play point. He turned up. Second day, if you turn up, you get a fair play point. So whoever got the most points at the end, something along those lines, we can use that kind of system. Yeah,
like maybe if you turn up 3 out of the 5 days and it's a 3-session thing, you can be let off without taking the penalty, maybe, because it's not actually your fault, and it shows who's at fault then, because the person who isn't turning up and announcing the sell on the night, there's no question for them to...
Or to simplify it, and I know we said we were going to sleep on it. if that is the case, do the format. Everybody has to put the days down. Minimum 7 days. Agreed. If they don't turn up, and the player turns up and is put online, I'm here available, he gets awarded 1 frame. Then it goes to the next day. If the player doesn't turn up again, he gets awarded another frame. So it's 2 frame advantage going into whenever.
Is this on days that they said they could play them?
Yes.
After they've, right, I think that's, if they ever announced they can play on that day.
Yes.
Well,
do you need to do that at the beginning of the tournament? Or just
from the offset. No, from the offset.
Right. Well, what you could do is then, so if you don't state when you can play, so if I say I can play on Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, I can play those. I'll play those days. Yeah. So say you say 4 days, so it will be presumed that you're going to play. The first day will be those days, and if you do that, then the points. If you don't say that, if you don't say when you're going to play, then automatically the first day, if you don't turn up, 1 frame gone, and the other one does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's sleep on that then, and just kind of gather it, and then we'll reconvene at some point. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, no worries, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for your input, and we'll maybe speak to you in a bit, like in green room or something.
I'm nipping on Snooker now. If anyone fancies a frame.
Yeah, me
too.
I'll
probably catch up with you in a bit. Thanks a lot, Ken. Cheers, Jeremy.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye bye now.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.